Breaking news. Thank you, Anders. I was looking for this all morning. Tesla reports 87% increase in 2021 deliveries, according to the New York Times. So we will look that up and discuss. So let's go to IR. And let's go to Q4 press release. Boom, baby. All right, let's do share this instead of what I was already sharing. All right. So this is coming from Tesla.com. They put it on Business Wire. And we notice they have it out of Austin. In the fourth quarter, we achieved production of more than 305,000 vehicles and deliveries of 308,000 vehicles. In 2021, we delivered 936,000 cars. It's almost a million. It looks like Patrick wins this wager. He went for the little more pessimistic. I went for straight at a million, and Mark went for just over a million. So we were all in that range, but $1, Bob. Thank you to all of our customers, employees, suppliers, shareholders, and supporters who helped us achieve this great year. And let's see. Model S and X, they did 13,109 with deliveries of 11,750. 17% of them were leased. And Model 3 and Y, 292,731 with deliveries of 296,850 with 5% leased. Now, people have asked me in the past why the leases on the Model 3 and Y are lower. There's two reasons for this. First is that the car is less expensive, and second is that one of the options you get with a lease that you don't get with a Tesla lease is you don't get the option to buy the car back if the values look good at the end of the term. So right now with the Model the Model 3 and the Model Y selling for just almost pretty much what you paid for it, you don't have the option to buy it out if you'd leased it, whereas Tesla then can take advantage of that themselves. But the S and the X are still traditional leases where that is an option. And they're more expensive. All right, so let's see, 2021 production totals for S and X were 24,390, which is not bad considering that it was out of production almost the entire year. Deliveries of 24,964. 3 and Y, almost a million. 906,032 built with 911,208 delivered for their total of 936,172 delivered. And then some other folks have asked me how can they deliver more than they built? They have this rolling situation where at the end of the previous quarter they've got cars that are in transit that aren't sold, and so then when they get sold, they count as a delivery once the owner takes the keys. What's up, Zach? All right, so let's see if they said anything else about this before they. So in a couple weeks, we'll then have a earnings call from them, and we'll probably cover that over on the Tesla Live show. Check that out at some time. Our net income and cash flows will be announced along with the rest of our performance when we announce Q4 earnings. Our delivery count should be viewed as slightly conservative as we only count a car delivered when it's transferred to the customer and all paperwork is correct. That's the other reason why these numbers will change between when they tell us what they are and when we get the quarterly numbers. It's because as everybody corrects their paperwork, that's when we see the final numbers arrive. That's really cool. Thank you, Zachary. I appreciate it. It's awesome. All right, so let's see here. Let's close this one and go back to the other one I was going to share was right now through 3 a.m., January 3rd at 3 a.m., Electrify America is offering free charging. So if you happen to have the correct adapters to charge on Electrify America, or if you have a non-Tesla and you can charge on Electrify America, it's free. And let's see. The response to this was pretty cool. Hey, that's my birthday. And then they said, we're wishing you a happy early birthday and happy charging. I think that the Tesla one is over. We discussed... No, it might still be going on. It was on through the 2nd, but we discussed that one last week, so you'll have to look early in last week's show to determine the details on that one. All right, let's see. Oh, Robert's on Facebook. Hello, Robert Griffin. Okay. So what I had planned to do, what my little special was going to be to, let's see here. Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, what I wanted to do was I was going to give you guys like a presentation that showed everybody who had done a super chat or had done the the memberships and the Patreons, but YouTube only lets my data go back so far. Uh, Almost everything else I can go back a year, 5 years, but on that one they kind of tightened it in. So either I'm doing it wrong or I need to start manually making note of this so I can do one of these for next year. Do a nice little in the last year, this is what happened, and I thought that was really would have been really fun, and that you guys would appreciate it. And so what we've done with that is we've taken it and we've paid some of the bills that go to this site, like the streaming platform and web hosting, that sort of thing, the software we use for the videos, and every little bit helps, and I do appreciate that. So let's go to the next story, and this one was that one's not a story. There we go. My browser tabs got mixed in. Okay, and then let's go here to, this one's coming from Drive Tesla Canada. And we talked about this happening with the Powerwall a couple weeks ago, where Tesla was letting the folks know that if their Powerwall was connected to through the 3G network, that they should connect to Wi-Fi. But they went a little too wide with the message, and they sent it to a lot of people who either only on Wi-Fi or where their Powerwalls have been moved off of 3G for months now. But I would rather have the message go out to too many people than miss the people who need to see the message. And so they're doing something similar with the car. You're getting a message on your touchscreen telling you that the AT&T 3G network is shutting down and that you should schedule for service to get it replaced. And it's only $200, including the parts and the labor. And I say only because when you look at the amount of labor it takes to actually get in there and deal with it, I think that's a fair price, especially considering that you are also paying for the modem and the chip, the SIM chip. So let's see. This vehicle currently contains a 3G modem. In order to maintain cellular connectivity after AT&T discontinues its 3G network by February 22nd. And this one amused me a little bit. Whoever set the date at AT&T decided that 3G would be gone on February 2nd of 2022, and I believe it was at 2:22 a.m. My sugar is high. There we go. Breakfast was bread. Had muffins. Let's see. Follow these steps to schedule a service appointment or add your existing one through your Tesla mobile app. Schedule service, upgrades and accessories, LTE upgrade. And for more information, they have a website. So let's do this. Let's go to the website and see what they're telling owners. 3G-cellular-network. This is a not all that friendly URL. If you're reading it from the touchscreen, as a non-link. All right, so this is what Tesla is telling owners of older cars. So if Model S built before June of 2015, so that's why my friend with the 85D had it and my 90D didn't have it, because mine was built February of 2016, February 14th of all days. Let's see. Were built without a 4G capable modem, will not be able to enjoy the following features unless connected to Wi-Fi. Roadside assistance to unlock your car remotely. I haven't had to have them do that, but I have done it myself through the app. Certain mobile app capabilities, including summon, cabin preconditioning, vehicle location, and remote unlock, etc. All of these should work in your driveway or garage if you have Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi is not acting up. So as soon as you leave the house, that's not, yeah, you'll want the modem for that. Certain infotainment features, including navigation, maps, live traffic updates, up-to-date supercharger availability, and outage information. Online music streaming and onboard map updates, over-the-air updates, will be unavailable because the car won't be connected. Let's see here. In order to maintain cellular connectivity after AT&T discontinues the network, your vehicle needs an LTE modem. And let's look at their frequently asked questions. Can you still access the features if you're connected to Wi-Fi? That's why I just said yeah. However, some features such as navigation, maps, live updates, and live information may not be available with solely a Wi-Fi connection, as they're typically used while the vehicle is being driven, which is where my video on how to reconnect your car to Wi-Fi after you've put it in drive comes in handy. But having to do that every time is for these cars where connectivity is no extra charge other than this $200. It's not, I don't know, personally worth the hassle. But on the cars where you do have the right connection, but it's going to be $10 a month, and maybe you don't take that many long trips, it might be worth for the 4 times you put the car in drive for that trip or more to reconnect to your modem. But the other thing to remember with tethering is a lot of plans don't have unlimited tethering, so you're going to want to still do your music over Bluetooth rather than let the car stream Spotify, Tidal, or Slacker, or what Tesla calls streaming. And what Slacker now calls themselves Live by Live. How do you know if you'll be affected? Your vehicle was built before June of 15 and has not been upgraded. How long does it take? Between an hour and a half by itself. And that's what I'm saying. It's affordable. When you look at how much Tesla charges for an hour of labor, it's pretty much you're only paying for the labor for this thing, which isn't bad. One example of an MCU repair is the VCM daughterboard replacement required to address the 8 gigabyte MMMC recall. Okay, so you might get a discount if the upgrade is performed in combination with something else where they already have the screen out of the car. That's pretty cool. Not a lot of places will give you that combo. All right, let's see here. Robert saw 3 Model S and 15,000 pounds, 25,000 pounds. Are those like used ones for sale? That's a really good price. And let's see. I spend more time watching your show than Netflix every month, so I'm underpaying you. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so this one we touched on Tesla Life, but I thought it was really cool, and I will bring it forward again. We saw a couple months ago a Prius owner that had mounted his Starlink dish to his hood, and when it was pulled over by the police, he told the officer that in response to a question of, does it block your view? He said only when turning left or only when turning right. I don't remember which. And that's when the officer wrote him the citation because it was blocking his view. Well, here's a much smarter individual who apparently has 2 Starlink dishes. When you look on the roof here, and then you look on his car here, I think this mount is overbuilt. It looks extremely strong, and so he can use his Starlink service when traveling away from home. This is coming to us from Tasmanian. 200 MIPS from a Starlink terminal mounted to a Tesla Model X while driving down the freeway at 100 kilometers an hour. Many thanks to Jay's 200 for this awesome steel fabrication. Can't wait for full Starlink roaming eligibility at Elon Musk. Yes, because right now you can move your dish before it ends up to the point where you drive out of the cell service. By cell service, I don't mean like cellular, but I mean like they have divided the Earth into cells, and each satellite services a cell as it goes over. And if there's capacity, and it's expecting you there, it'll give you service. And so sometimes you can move it, sometimes you can't. But they've kind of reserved you a spot in the place that you told them you would be. And so some people have been taking advantage of that. And where he's talking about full roaming will be where you just have your dish and you just go around the world. You can have it on an RV, you can have it on the back of your Model X, on a boat, and then it will just follow you around, which is cool. And let's see, got a bit more Starlink range data. Rock solid up to about 30 kilometers from home, with a limit of coverage about 40 kilometers from home. Those are pretty big cells. And we saw this with Zach and Jesse when they tried to find the edge of their cell, and they were unable to do so. They spent all day, and they couldn't find it. So that's still pretty cool. Especially when you consider that they're in Massachusetts. It's not exactly rural out there. How much does unlimited mobile cost in the U.S.? That's a very good question. It's going to depend on your carrier and your payment status. So if you're prepaid, it's going to cost differently than if you're postpaid, where they send you a bill or just automatically take it out of your account. And then if you're on an MVNO, like Google, I think it's about like $60 a month for Google Fi Unlimited. I pay for my Google Fi on per month, or not per month, but per gigabyte, because the only things I use on it are my backup phone, my Google Pixel, and my Model X's dash cam is also on it with a SIM card. So if for some reason the Tesla cam is down and something happens, we've got a backup there, and then also if it's down, then we've got the Tesla cam as backup. There've been a few minutes over the past year where both were down at the same time, and that's you feel out there when that happens. Yeah, it is pretty smart. And then so on that one, my bill runs about $30 a month, because what happens is I still can't get the sensitivity dialed in where the dash cam won't send a clip. I can turn off sending clips, but where it won't send a clip when I hit a really bad rough patch of road here, it'll shake it enough that it thinks that somebody's stealing the car, and it'll send a copy of it. But if I turn it off, they'll bring it down to about, I think the minimum is like $15 a month, and that's, I think that's pretty fair. But then if you go to one of the premium carriers like Verizon and AT&T, you can be at easily $100 to $200 per month for unlimited connection. At 5G though, LTE, was it millimeter wave, that sort of thing, the faster LTE connections, which is pretty fun. All right, let's close this one down here. And let's see. This was fun as well. Let me share the pictures. 2840, and that's coverage in large parts of Sweden for 5G. See, that's what I'm talking about. We only come close to that with the MVNOs, and they're still right around $40 to $60 a month. One I do appreciate is Mint Mobile. They actively discourage you from going unlimited if they can help it to save you money. Which when a company is actually actively trying to save people money, I appreciate it and respect that every time. All right, so as I said, pictures. Over at Giga Texas, we see what appears to be a hint at a structural battery pack reduction, because we've got a Model Y shipped on a covered truck with what appears to be either a testing jig or an assembly jig. Bless you. And one thing that the people have pointed out is you can see the floor through this Model Y, and the fact that you can see the floor means that it doesn't have a floor, which implies structural battery, because on the vehicles with the structural battery, the floor is the battery. So this is obviously from the drone army. This one is Joe Tegmeyer. Found the Model Y body and alignment rig at the north end of the factory near the paint shop. Yeah, because that one's definitely in primer. And this isn't the first sighting of a Model Y body in Texas, as they point out over at Drive Tesla Canada. But it's the first one without a floor. Here's what the current generation Model Y frame looks like, clearly showing the bottom plate, which serves as attachment point for the battery with 2170 cells. And we don't see that in the photo. And yeah, it's got a hole for the penthouse. The penthouse is the part on top of the battery that's got your DC-DC converter, your pyrotechnic fuse, and a bunch of other items. And here we can see there during the battery day not battery day, the Giga Berlin grand opening, we can see the 4680 cell has no floor, and the 2170 cell had a floor, which is pretty cool. And they mount everything directly to the battery right here, so you get your seats and everything sitting right on top of the battery. I think that's going to make it harder for the police conversions that do anything on the floor to not hit the battery, because the floor is the battery. They're going to mount it to the sides of the car at this point, or use adhesive. The double-sided 3M tape is miraculous. All right, so earlier this month, the same drone pilot saw is the one that showed us the anode and cathode equipment for the 4680s going into the Gigafactory 1. Or not 1, sorry. Terrafactory, Texas. Gigafactory 1 is it's quite a few miles away from there. That's pretty cool. See, 2 comments. Got a Model Y performance order since Thanksgiving. Told me I ordered it in March. Tried to deliver in 12/16. Told him no, I want 1 gig of Texas. I don't think it's unreasonable, but at the same time, I don't think it's a realistic expectation at this time. But we've got some news more about Giga Austin coming up, or so Giga Texas. It's a little weird. If it's outside of the U.S., they call it by Giga city name. If it's inside, they call it Giga state. So Giga Buffalo is actually called Giga New York. They used to call them by the order they opened in, but they need a bunch of them, and that would get cumbersome quickly. All right, where are we here? This one is coming out of Giga Shanghai. Or no, sorry. It follows news we saw out of Giga Shanghai last week with the Ryzen chips coming into the Model 3 and the Model Y coming out of Giga Berlin and Giga Shanghai. We now see that some vehicles being produced in Fremont, when you go into their vehicle information page, are showing that they have the AMD Ryzen chip installed. And then there's argument about whether or not that includes the graphics card that you see on the new S and X, the refresh, or if it's just the chip. But even if it is just the chip, it's clocking in about 5 to 8 times faster than the Intel chip MCUs. And so the folks that are in Shanghai now that actually were able to pull up 2 cars side by side and compare the speeds, they're saying that the maps, the games, the user interface, everything is just faster on the new Ryzen chip cars. That's to be expected. So for those of you that remember my salty rant last week, it's coming for you. I'm mostly over it. I finally got my update, and it changes some things. Mostly, I like the way it looks. Like the icons, the colors are weird. You know, like everybody's been taking away colors. Tesla put them back. It's even flatter, and the areas that they went for simplification, I do appreciate. Like the map doesn't have all the extra waypoints for where you're not going. Like, hey, here's a hospital. Hey, here's this business that you're never going to visit. It's just the road and your turns, and then your start and your destination. The waypoints are nice. You can move them around. It was counterintuitive the first time I did it because I put in where I wanted to go next, and then I tried to put in another destination, which was home. But I ended up adding home in between where I was trying to go. So it was like, hey, you're going to go home and then go to where you were trying to go. So then, thankfully, my first interaction with waypoints, they had the edit feature, so I was able to move my add a stop, was what Tesla calls waypoints. They call it add a stop. I was able to move where I wanted to go second and then put home after that. And it was just a simple drag and drop. A couple of things are worse, just like everybody else is complaining about the more taps. For us, for some reason, even though they didn't want to change much, I still have 2 taps to get to the seat heater. I can no longer adjust the passenger seat if there's not somebody sitting in the passenger seat. Like, I spent about 15 minutes looking for the control, and then I picked up Luna, and when she sat down in the chair, all of a sudden the passenger temperature showed up, and I was able to adjust it. That was unexpected. I still have stuff that they took out of the Model 3 and new Model S and X where I can swipe home, swipe to work, and all of my icons and buttons are still at the top of the screen as far as the Sentry status, the dash cam icon where I can click it to either launch the dash cam viewer or if I'm driving to immediately take a clip. I still have the honk on honk record because for me that's easier to remember. because the kind of stuff I want to save is usually involves me honking at somebody because they need to pay attention. Uh, Usually somebody coming into my lane, other incursions into my space in the driving space, and so I beep at them, and then that saves the recording. It also waits a beat before it saves the recording when you honk. So my inclination is to hit the button when the thing happens. But if you hit the record button too soon, then it doesn't actually record what you wanted. It stops just before it happened because the way the buffer works. So that's pretty cool. It's similar to my aftermarket dash cam. When I wave my hand in front of it, it takes a recording now. But I'd have to know something was happening. So what I do is I use that now marker to go find the last clip that I didn't manually tag, and I extract that for whatever is necessary. And then again, for those folks that are new to me, the reason I have 2 dash cams in my car is Tesla Cam didn't exist when I bought my car, and I had just been through a multiple collision with a semi truck where it rammed me repeatedly, and me and my wife, and so after that, I'm never riding in another car again that belongs to me without a dash cam, either built in or aftermarket. I think even with the Cybertruck, I'll probably still go for adding one in, maybe not one as sophisticated as this one, just in case it's down for any reason. Either we're going to see how the future software does with the Tesla, where sometimes this one doesn't start, and sometimes it's full and doesn't tell you right away. And I have a feeling that would be the one time that I need it and it's full or not on. Yeah, exactly. Especially like when the guy with the blue Model 3, it looked like he was the victim of a jilted X situation, like where the other guy's like, "Hey, yeah, I've got the only blue Model 3 in town," and she sees the blue Model 3 and she messes up his car, and it wasn't even the right guy. Oh man, that one. I'm glad I wasn't that guy. Exactly. Yeah, Eddie's got one too. I mean, the dash cam, it can be a lifesaver. We've seen incidents in the past year where the Tesla owner would have been cited as at fault when they look at the tape. They determine, wow, that guy had nothing to do with this. He was just an innocent bystander. Yeah, absolutely. I love getting OTA, and there were legitimate gripes with this one, but they weren't as bad as the noise makes it out to be, and generally they were good. Then you have general salty confusion like mine, where why don't I have the remote viewing when it's the exact same system as a Model 3 from the same vintage? But we've got some news on that. Hopefully that will come up and be resolved as well. It's not necessarily news on my not having it, but news on changes to the OTA. So we'll come to that later in the show. So we don't know if they're going to have the GPU or not on the Model Ys and Model 3s. If they do, then that's them kind of making a baseline for their cars going forward. But we do know already, based on Samsung's boastfulness, that they're going to get new cameras and they're going to get new chips, and Samsung is going to make them because they said, an electric truck maker in Austin. We're building a new plant, and these are the capabilities. And they called out Cybertruck as close as they could without saying the word Cybertruck or Tesla. And not necessarily bragging, but that was them doing a shareholder briefing, so they kind of had to let people know what they were doing because they're required by law to report. The other thing that we saw is that the lithium 12-volt battery is also going to be coming to the Fremont cars. So that's following up where Elon said he was going to do it to all the cars coming forward, and hopefully he makes good on the retrofit for everybody. He said he was going to look into it, but you got to parse Elon speaking sometimes, just like you do with Microsoft making announcements. Even though he says he'd rather you read him at face value, he still does stuff like this. Oh, we'll look into it. And what does that mean, Elon? All right, so we've been told by a source that the new camera housing is related to the addition of an in-cabin radar. Also, the millimeter wave radar that we saw them get approved on the Model S and X is also coming to the Model 3. So hopefully that will help with the false positives of people not paying attention on the new cars as well. Neato. And that's another good question. Is so far they've allowed you to upgrade all the MCUs eventually, and so if you could have a first gen Model S with the Ryzen chip, that would be closer to the mission of not having throwaway cars, and I hope that they do that, and especially if they do the first gen, then that would include me with the with the second gen. But there were some folks who had legacy Model X's that they had just got their Model X before the final shutdown when they ran out of all the leftover stock. This guy got a brand new 2021 Model X, but it wasn't 2021 refresh. So then, his car is 3 months old, and he gets this notice that you're not getting this, or this. It's right here. I understand not getting heated seats or not getting heated steering wheel because that's something that they had to add to the car, and I'm sure a lot of Model 3 owners recognize this because the heated steering wheel didn't ship on those cars. And it stings a little, but when you've got the same computer as these people and they tell you no, you got to give us more explanation than that. All right, so another update. According to Tesla Scope, this Model Y was delivered in Portland, Oregon. So if you've taken delivery of a new Model 3 or Model Y in the last few days, please let Drive Tesla Canada know, and then also let us know because you're watching this. Let me know, and we'll talk about it. But this is exciting because this is the way that they do. All right, so what's next here? This one was really cool. Oh wait, let's see. You have FSD. Where am I on the Cybertruck waitlist? Let me take a look real quick. Go for all the security, so I need to present them with a code. Come on. My phone thinks I want to pay for stuff. I'm not at a store. I'm on stream. Come on. Menu. Count. This is a lot slower than I thought it would be. Sorry. The phone's like, are you sure you're not at a store? You don't want to pay for stuff? It seems like grocery day. All right, we're in. And Cybertruck. I started out pretty late in the day. I went to sleep on it because it shocked me so much. And 4384. There's some more numbers in front of that. I'm not sure exactly how deep we go. But the next morning, before work, I was in the parking garage. I ordered it, and then I went into the office. Should have got two. Put the second one on Turo. Let it pay itself. All right, so let's close that before I click on stuff on accident. All right, so this one was fun to me. The mobile app is now letting you control giving access to your car. It used to be that you had to get just the right phone support rep who knew what you were talking about to add an account to the car. They used to say, oh, just share your password with them. No, there's actually a function to give them their own account and let them log into the car. And so if you got the right person who'd been with Tesla forever on the phone and was in a good mood, you could get them to either link an existing account to your car or to make a new account and attach it to your car. But eventually what ended up happening is Tesla lets you then do it from the account page on the website. You could then add other people's accounts to your car. And so the next stage of this is allowing you to do it with the app. because who wants to go to the website when you've got a perfectly good app right here? The next step for this is folks are wondering if this will work for the Hertz cars or, well, obviously it'll work for the Turo cars because people are able to do that today. They go to the website, they put in the person's Tesla account, and then you can have the Turo car in your account for the duration of your rental, and then they just pull it out. So let's see, this is coming with version 4.4.0. And previously, as we'd seen from the guys who tear down the account, they not the account, the app, and reverse engineer it, they were able to see the strings for this coming, and now it's here. So you go to security, and at the bottom of the page, add a driver button. So let's see if mine has got that now that I'm somewhat up to date. Let's go to the Tesla app, security. Same place you'll turn off or on your Sentry mode. All right, I do have managed drivers. It only has me, but my wife's account is still in the car. We started out actually with hers the old school way, and at some point it dropped off, and then we added her through the website, and she's still got access. She just used it yesterday to send some directions to the car, and in this manage drivers feature, it's not showing her. Interesting. So anyway, once you click that, you can message them access to your car, and that's pretty cool. We might have to go this route now that it's new. It was ignoring her request for navigation, but it was telling her exactly where we were, the speeds, what the status of the car was, letting her control the radio and temperature. It's interesting, and so you'll get all of that with this. Access can be easily revoked at any time through the mobile app. Please let us know in the comments if you're able to see this in the mobile app. Yeah, I'm seeing this now. Okay, moving on. This is a rare event coming about regarding Tesla. Sponsorship and advertising, eh? So Tesla is sponsoring Formula SAE electric racing teams with free battery cells and more. So it's not quite, putting their sticker on the side, but it is material. I wonder if these are refurbished cells or reject cells. Obviously not dangerous, but just not enough that you want to warranty it for 8 years. Let's see what it says here. Last summer, several of us from Tesla were volunteering. Okay, so it's kind of got the employee connection. Started discussing what Tesla might be able to do to help. Pretty excited to share the sponsorship opportunity just in time for the holidays. If your team is planning to enter any of the next year's Formula student events as an EV, act fast since applications are due Wednesday the 29th. So, when did you write this article? On the 29th. So Fred and I are both way too late to this to actually help anybody, but it is really neat to see them actually participating in the community, because this is something that the dealerships constantly say is that, oh, well, without us, nobody's going to support local Little League, nobody's going to support local students. Really? Is that where you're going with this? Because it isn't necessarily true, and that's not all you do with the money. And so to see them being proven wrong again is nice. Especially not just because it's being proving them wrong, but because, students are benefiting from this. All right, so this one, Dan sent it to us. And I didn't watch the video because I didn't know there was a video when I read the article. When I skimmed the article the first time, and then I read it and saw there was an article. So, a video, and these are two people that I like to watch go back and forth. You've got Lex. What's Lex's last name? Lex Friedman and Elon Musk. They did another chat, and so. Friedman had asked what the potential of a companionship role for the Tesla bot is, either as an assistant or as a friend. And Elon said, I think the possibilities are endless. It's not quite in Tesla's primary mission directive of accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. but it's an extremely useful thing for the world to make a humanoid robot that is capable of interacting with the world and helping in many different ways. And then he later on said it could develop a personality over time that is unique. It's not like all the robots are the same. The personality could evolve to match the owner or whatever you call it. This sounds really far out, and I will watch the video later and maybe bring it up next week. We'll see. But here's a direct link to the video that you can watch later, and I'll watch later as well. So let me stop sharing and then replace this article with the video so I can come back to it. Okay. Next up, we've got some news that isn't at all surprising to me, but it does look good on paper. Hyundai. Oh wait, this isn't the one I thought it was. Hyundai did two things that weren't all terribly surprising. One of them I am happy for, and the other one is I kind of saw it coming. So they've paused their fuel cell project just after the next story, which is they ended ICE engines, and I'll get more into what I mean by ending ICE engines in a moment. While Wilson can reduce loneliness, it's a long way to personality. Indeed. Let's see here. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so the current hydrogen cars, I think, the lowly of them, they come from typically what is a gray hydrogen, which is hydrogen that comes from natural gas or other fossil sources, and it gets to the point where it would be cleaner to burn that original fuel directly in the vehicle than it would be to burn the fossil fuel or reform it into in a hydrogen fuel cell stack. In fact, we saw cases where BMW was literally burning the hydrogen as if it was gasoline fuel, and the problem with that one was your maintenance was higher than a typical combustion BMW because you've got hydrogen embrittlement. So the hydrogen wants to pass straight through the walls of whatever vessel you've put it in, and then when you go to burn it, as it's flowing through the system, it's trying to merge with the whole fuel system and tears it apart. And so the combustion hydrogen vehicle is even worse than a fuel cell vehicle. But the fuel cells that we have today, except for those few cases like where I showed you where they are on that windy island in Europe where the connection back to the mainland is too small for them to send it all back to the grid, and so they're bottling some of it as hydrogen until the approvals come through and the construction is complete on a bigger grid connection. There it makes sense because you're not wasting the energy entirely, but it still makes more sense to put that energy back into a battery or directly into the grid than it does to turn it into splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen. And Hyundai agrees. So now all that we have left on the fuel cells is Toyota. And as we saw, was it last week, week before? Even Toyota has realized that they need to get on the EV bandwagon, and they have started. So that is a bit of good news. And then where did my other article go about Hyundai? It's Mazda. Did I close it? I might have closed it, which isn't good. Or it's a tweet. Let's just say this. So Hyundai has also decided they were going to not make any more. Not exactly accurate. They have ended development of new fossil engines. There we go. That is accurate, and that wasn't surprising. I saw that coming because you've got all of these laws out there right now, laws and procedures where these countries are trying to be off fossils by 2030, 2035, 2040, 2045, and 2050. And one of them as late as 2060 because they want to do the right thing, but they don't want to make it difficult on themselves. And if you don't have any customers for new engines, why develop them. And remember that the cars take anywhere from 3 to 8 years to go from pencils down, or putting the pencil down to start, not putting it down as finished, but putting pencil to paper, and then out come a final car. You've got at the very fastest, they put a lot of effort into it, 3 years, and the typical time is between 7 to 9 years to start a project and then see a final car come out. So we're in 2022 now, plus 9 years is going to be beyond the 2030 deadline for a lot of these countries, and developing fossil fuel engines is expensive. So in order to get your money back, you need to both have it out before it's too late to sell it, and also sell enough of them to recoup your investment. And neither of those will be possible. So it makes sense that Hyundai is no longer developing new fossil engines. And I expect that we will see a lot more of this going forward, both this year and in the years to come. It just makes sense financially. Hydrogen only makes sense in point-to-point, like big rail with a renewable source at one end and a maintenance shop at the other. Yes, and also airplanes. Some of the airplanes where they're weight sensitive. I guess all airplanes are weight sensitive, but some where it makes that much of a difference, and they've got the infrastructure on both ends, like you said, that would work, as well as some cases of shipping. But I think it'd be easier with shipping to just put solar panels and sails on most vessels, and that would take care of it. All right. So we talked about this already. Electric also did about Tesla launches new AMD chips and 12-volt lithium-ion battery on 2022 Model 3 and Y vehicles. So they've got a photo of, and maybe a link to. They don't. They have a screenshot of the video of the comparison of the Ryzen versus the Atom. So let me see if I can't get YouTube to give me a copy of that video that they screenshotted. Well, I opened a new tab instead of a new window. All right, so YouTube, AMD Ryzen. Did I spell it right? There we go. And Atom A3950. Hey, look at that. My search engine foo is really good. So let's share screen. Hopefully there's no music on this thing. There we go. And there is. Okay, so they started what appears to be the browser. Wow. It's an entertainment browser, it's not a browser. So 4 seconds versus 17 seconds. All right, there's another app. Incredible. Yeah, I think this would be fun to get an upgrade for. I'm not sure what else they would attach to the Ryzen aside from support. That would make it a worthy upgrade. Because if your car is perfectly good, there's no reason to throw it away. But it'd be nice to upgrade the computer. All right, so they're using the map. It looks to be just as big a change as going from MCU 1 to MCU 2. Incredible. So they did that one in slow-mo, so you could actually see it happen. Wow. So for those of you picking up a 2022 Model Y or 3 from Fremont with this AMD Ryzen, let us know what you think, especially if you have an older one. That is, in this video, it looks incredible. Okay, so let's go on to the next article. Okay, so this one I'd actually additionally picked up from another source, but then they started wanting me to register and subscribe, and subscribing wasn't free, so I was like, Let's go with Electric's copy of it. So, True Simple has successfully operated an 80-mile autonomous semi-truck on public roads with no human present. So here is a screen grab from their video of showing the interior camera, and there's their stock symbol if you're interested. And so this is considered SAE level 4, and they're using their driver out program. 1.5 years to develop a level 4 autonomous semi-truck. I don't know. I still want somebody in the vehicle. So this one was delivering. No, that's not Amazon. It was looking at an Amazon truck. I noticed that the tint on these cameras is very familiar. And then this one looks kind of like a cross between the Tesla FSD might have car and the Mobileye system. Let's see how long this is and if they have music and what they have to say for themselves. An hour? Nah. Maybe they have a quick interview at the front. I mean, not that I have anything against hour-long videos coming from the guy with the sometimes 4-hour live stream, but just saying that, you guys can watch it yourself, rather than, it's not like a watch-along, it's not like a movie or something. So here's the link to their, it's not even a stream, I don't think. I think it's just a presentation. But congratulations to them. The article that I initially had was much more substantive. Give us $20 to read one article. No. Make this article worth it, and I might look at some more, and then I might subscribe. Come on now, guys. I closed the wrong one. See, that's what concerns me. Is it sounds like the safety driver was in another truck. Let's open back up again and see. All right, so searching on the word safety in the article turns up nothing. Monitor. I mean, they had safety in their ad, but not in the. There's no mention of a human, other than there not being a human there. Without a human on board. So, yeah, they were in another vehicle. That's faith in your tech right there. Because a loaded semi-truck doing work can do damage, as I know firsthand. It still hurts to this day. Yeah, that was my reaction as well. It's one thing for it to be an entry-level shoebox car, but it's another for a Class 8 truck with a full load. All right, so continuing on, we've got in autonomy, we've got something that they suggested will scare the American brands, and it might. So Inside Transportation is reporting that Waymo has announced it will integrate its driver software and hardware with a new electric vehicle designed for ride-hailing with Geely's Zeekr brand. And Geely, they're the ones who own Volvo and Polestar and a couple of supercar brands. But this is going to be a people pod. Our friend Travis told us when he was on the show, people pods are the way it's going, whether you want to believe it or not. And I mean, it makes sense. Like, any child born today probably will never drive unless they, it's like riding a horse. They might want to and they might learn, but they're not going to have to. I don't really trust autonomous on highways. Too many variables can happen. See, on the highway is actually safer and easier than in the city. Like, I trust the Tesla autopilot on the highway. It rarely makes mistakes, but in the city, that thing is nowhere near ready for robotaxi duty. It's getting better every update, but it's not there yet. Just yesterday evening, it tried to drive us into traffic. It was looking right. but the traffic was coming from the left, and it started to inch out into traffic. So I pushed the brake because it had already stopped at the edge of the lane, which is further than I find comfortable to begin with. But then once it was past the edge of the lane and the other way was clear, it started to inch forward with lots of cars coming at high speed. So I brake, pop it in reverse, get back to where I am comfortable, pop it back in drive so I don't forget and ram into somebody. And then when it's clear, manually go and then turn back on the auto steer. Yeah, but at the controlled highways, you don't have pedestrians, you don't have super slow vehicles. Typically, it's a little easier for them to handle. But the people pods, what I think that the articles are all talking about why this is a problem for the domestics is that right now the Chinese don't really make cars for America. I mean, you've got Volvo and Polestar and Candy, where you get the cars with the candy machine, but it's very limited because most Chinese automakers don't want to go through the FMVS certifications, the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety tests. So they don't, and that's why we don't see their cars. And the ones that have tried it so far that didn't pass, they didn't pass with flying colors. They if you ever saw the crash test between the new Chevy versus the Bel Air Chevy, it looked that bad. There was a cloud of rust, and then the old car was gone, and the new car was just did the crumple zone thing. Yeah, exactly. So if I haven't ridden in the Waymo van yet, but this I would probably be comfortable with this. I mean, I haven't heard of any Waymo collisions yet that weren't the case where the Waymo wasn't the one getting hit. There was the one where they learned that buses don't yield and buses don't care because they're on a schedule. And then there were the numerous indications or numerous incidents of people around them being brilliant geniuses and not knowing how to drive correctly, either backing into it, sideswiping it, or rear-ending it. But that can happen anywhere. Good morning from Arizona. What's going on, Timothy? All right, so let's see what else they had to say. That's all they had to say about it. Okay. Waymo, VIA, and UPS announced they have expanded their partnership for Class 8 trucks for delivery packages. I thought Waymo got out of trucks. I guess not. I wonder. There's probably something technical about that, like where they're getting out of it, but not exactly. Or was it Uber? I know Uber got out of the cars, and I think Uber stole the trucks, so they got out of that too. So it might have been Uber then. Next up, Goodyear's targeting road noise with replacement tire for Tesla and other EVs. So Goodyear's released a tire that happens to be exactly the Tesla Model 3 sizes, but hasn't announced any partnership with Tesla. Hey, I'm all about a car that's going to be able to, or a tire that's going to be able to stand up for the torque that goes out and last a little longer, be quieter and grippy, and also fuel efficient. Yes, bring it on. And so Stephen here is going over the priorities that the tires and EVs have to deal with. Goodyear has a new product called the Electric Drive GT. It's an all-season tire with an asymmetric tread pattern, which means it only goes on one direction. You can't flip it around without demounting it. Scheduled to launch this year. According to press release, the debut size is 255 45 R19 104W XL, which corresponds to the 19-inch tires on the Tesla Model Y and Model 3 from the factory. That fitment should work well for other EVs as well. Okay. And then talking about rolling resistance, noise, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I've noticed on the smoothest of roads, my car sounds like a mud truck. and that's after the tire alignment. But I can't rotate them because I've got staggered tires. My front wheels are 265s, and my rear wheels are 275s. So it ain't gonna happen. So what I was looking into was trying the Michelin Cross Climate SUV, so that I wouldn't have to worry about snow tires for a year. But speaking of which, we've got a winter storm warning tomorrow, almost all the day. That'll be fun. So Goodyear's not the first. Obviously, Michelin, Continental, Bridgestone offer EV or hybrid replacement tires. You got the Bridgestone Ecopias, the Continental Cross Contact Plus, and Pilot Sport is Michelin. Yep. So it's good to see Goodyear jump on board, and then hopefully it gets good reviews and is priced nicely, because I would like to try it out. Obviously not the 19s, because they don't fit on a 20-inch wheel, but that'll be fun. How about you guys? What do you do with tires? Do you replace them with something else, or do you just keep with stock? How do you handle your tires? It was a tweet. So here's the tweet on Hyundai. This is massive news from Potato. Hyundai have taken the boldest of steps and will no longer develop internal combustion engines. My respect for them has skyrocketed. Your move, Toyota, Mazda, etc. And then they've got a screenshot of the link of the article. Hyundai Group will stop making internal combustion engines to hasten transformation into an electric vehicle maker. The company said that electrification is unavoidable, so it will work in that direction and ditch the fuel-powered vehicles, which I think just makes sense, because you're running towards a brick wall. Don't you want to put the brakes on? What's up, Marcus?
Hey, hello everyone.
How you doing?
I'm great. How you doing? Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year. Yes. Oh, yeah. I agreed to everybody, but I didn't even say Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. So, you got the update on Smoke? Did you get it on your original car?
My 13? No, I didn't get it on my 13. I got it on Smoke. Yeah, I got it on Smoke, but it wasn't too much different from me, because that one was already pretty much.
Yeah, because the refreshes, everybody came up to your level. But what I was hoping we would see is that everybody would take it to the level that we saw on the prototype plaids, rather than just bringing us to where you are. Because as we saw, it ruffled a lot of feathers.
It's rumors about track mode coming, so
I'm liking the idea of track mode.
What's that?
I'm liking the idea of track mode.
Yes.
Yeah. David says Happy New Year. Andrew says hello, Marcus.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
And then as far as tires, David said that he stays with the standard Michelins. All right. Winter Storm, put your range to the test. Winter Storm, put my range to 0. I'm stay home.
Man, it's cold out here in Texas today as well.
It's
like 20 some out here, man.
20?
Yeah,
it's 64 degrees right now.
Man.
I'm sweating here because I don't want to turn the air back on again.
Right.
We did.
What's that?
I turned the air back on for a minute because it got too hot in here. It was like 80 degrees, and it's like with the drag races going on outside, I couldn't open the window.
Okay.
Yeah.
We trying to turn the fire. We got the Dysons going on here, with the heat on.
You
go. So keep the air clean.
Exactly. David's going to stay home as well because doesn't have to go out every day.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
The software? Did you like the software update?
I love it. I love it on the legacy cars because they didn't change much. It just looks better. It's a little slicker, a little faster. There were some frustrating bits, like they removed my ability to adjust the passenger seat control. It's that passenger seat temperature if there's nobody in the chair, and seat heaters, just like everybody else, they've been moved under a sub menu. Yeah. But like I still got the Sentry mode and the dash cam and swipe to do your destinations. So they didn't mess me up too hard.
I saw you earlier. I ain't trying to go back too far, but I saw earlier you talk about dash cam and I'm with you on that, because even like someone asked me why you have to get dash cam in your Plaid. I'm like, man, the way people drive, I like to have that extra security. I like the dash cam better. But I'm glad that they got live view now with Sentry mode, which is a good help too, though. But I mean, hey, You can never have too many cameras now where how people drive. At least I know
Exactly.
out here, pretty much everywhere. So.
Plus, with the aftermarket, you could put a 4K in, and sometimes that's the difference in reading a hit and run license plate versus the cameras that we see for the Tesla aren't made for human consumption except the rear view.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah. I wonder if some commands will work via voice. Yes, a lot of the commands work via voice, but not all of them. And my car has great difficulty hearing me while I'm driving. But I did try the passenger commands by voice, and it said adjusting driver and passenger to this. I'm like, well, if I put a pizza over there, I want it to be a different climate control than me, but I don't want to suffer the pizza climate control. Typically, the pizza's right in the front because they smell, but if I want to turn on the bun warmers and then, say bump the temperature up about 4 degrees on the passenger side, why not? Or cool it down if I got some ice cream over there, right?
Right.
But I tried the voice commands and they didn't work. But as soon as my wife sat down, it showed up right there. But
okay.
Yeah. The other things I was looking for were still there. So if you could say, hey, my butt's cold, or hey, I need 3 veggie bacons or 3 bacons, it'll give it to you. But I spent way too much time looking for that passenger seat control.
Right.
There has to be somebody in the chair. Thankfully, I was paying enough attention that I saw the correlation. It was there. So, what do you think about this? Hyundai not making engines anymore, or not designing engines anymore? I should say they're still making them.
Okay. They made that announcement when? What's that? On the 27th? Oh.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't catch that one. Hey, I hope it it's taking us in the right direction where we're trying to go to try to get these people on board with the
electrify all
electric vehicles.
Exactly. And so what I was saying was that they see the writing on the wall. They're motoring to a brick wall, and doesn't it make sense to put the brakes on rather than to sink any more money into the fossils as far as engineering. You can keep making the same old model over and over again, and then if you make enough EVs, you can offset your fees, or you can just pay the fees or pay Tesla. But I think this was a good move.
That's a good point. Yeah. So I guess they did a little bit after what's that? Dodge did theirs as well.
I don't know if Dodge is still. Did the Dodge say they're stopping the design, or they just said eventually they're gonna stop the fossils?
Oh, okay, they stopped it completely. Okay, Hyundai did a bigger move. That I would say then. Okay, I like that.
Yeah,
yeah, Dodge is a little different.
Because what I was suggesting was that it takes a couple of years to from the minute you put your pen to the paper to the thing rolls out of the factory, that by the time this happens, they might get a year or negative 3 years, depending on how long they take to recoup their investment. And at the same time, you have to make a lot of cars to get your development costs back, and so that would make them in 2028 look really bad, with 2030 being their drop dead date. All of a sudden to pump out 10 million gas cars.
Right.
Especially if they've been making electrics that long.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. David says excellent. All should retire ICE. I agree. All right, let's stop sharing screen. See what Robert shared with us here. Okay, so I didn't share this picture last time. We saw the video where those people were abusing that charging station, and he saw it after they got done with it, and sent us a picture of it with the caution tape on it. These were the fools who almost set their car on fire, where they were like smoking and put the charger in the gas tank and were revving it up and stuff, and then they left after there was a big old cloud of smoke, and then the next day when people tried to use it, it didn't work, and Robert happened to snag a photo of it. And then he saw these cars for sale, very good price, £15,900 and £25,995.
What's that £15,900? I'm not trying. I'll be trying to know it.
It's probably a 2013, but it's got nice wheels on it.
How much? I'm saying how much they equate to US the $15,900?
Oh, good question. Let me mute myself while I ask the box.
No, I just thought maybe you knew off top. I'll use a calculator.
I don't know.
I thought you knew off top. I know some people they good with that off top of their head. That's why I thought you knew off top.
I'm not that. I convert everything.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So thank you for sharing this with the group. With the group, Robert. Appreciate that. All right. Oh, why did it pop us like that? Okay. So next up, While we talk about people who are not doing their zoom, and somebody said, remember the person who shared that article with us, Potato, said, your turn, Mazda. Here's what Mazda has to say about it. Mazda says their first electric car is not so bad for buyers who also have a second car for long distance. Come on, Mazda. Come on.
That's bad.
Remember, this is the car that had the 100-mile range. Either they've bumped it up to 131 or somebody else's fuel cycle is being used for that 131 range quoted at 130 miles. Oh, that's how the European model. That's that European test. Your guys' test is too easy on these cars. So in the American test, they got 100 miles, and Mazda's saying, oh well, if it's not your only car, you're fine. And that went with my joke that if you got a kid going off to college, you'll always know where they are. They'll be in a 100-mile circle at school.
That's a good point.
Yep. I heard that Hyundai is basically going to shut down their ICE engine research. Sign of the time for sure. Exactly. The Mini EV is low range too. It's a good point. But is it 100 miles on a brand new car in 2022 low? Or is it just lower than it should be for a car being sold today? Yeah, exactly, David. They made a first-gen Leaf 10 years later. This was an awesome car 10 years ago. Or, as I said, if it's the second car, or you're just that into Mazda, or, as I joked, that you want to, give it to a kid you don't want to leave town ever. These are good for just city living, yes. But then there's the problem of when you've only got a 100-mile range and you live in the city, you also need to have off-street parking. Because if you park on the street and you only have a 100-mile range, you're going to spend a good portion of your time looking for a place to charge the thing. Versus, like, if you get a long-range Model 3 with over 300 miles of range, you'll charge it once a month or less. We've got a friend in Philadelphia. She charges... I mean, she has plug and she has off-street parking, so she charges it all the time. But there were times where she forgot to plug it in for over a month. Yes, exactly. This is one thing that I've been saying repeatedly. We need affordable EVs, and as we talked about last week, we need the affordable EVs to be safe. We can't have them be punishment mobiles like the Zoe, which went down to 0 stars, or the name is eluding me now on that other one. The was it Chinese? It had a much nicer name. The Dacia Spring. It's 1 star. And we saw that the administrator from the crash tests group in Europe came out and he said the same thing, and he put them on blast, which you don't ever see that from administrators. He said, these are cars aimed at people who don't have the means to pay for more safety. They shouldn't have to decide between feeding their family for, having a car that they can afford to operate, or make sure their family survives a crash because they couldn't afford a larger vehicle. Yeah. Eddie, the Zoe for this year, they had to pass the new style crash test, and they also removed safety features from last year, so it was a double whammy. So they lost features that they already had, and the new test is much harder than the test they originally passed. They originally had a 4 or 5 star in most categories, but not like a Tesla where every subcategory is 5 stars, and they got a 0. Now, the Dacia Spring is a very cheap car. It's based on a Chinese car, and another reason why Chinese cars typically don't get sold here, because they don't want to engineer them to pass these level of tests. But it got a 1 star, and I just ripped the grade off my fan on the computer here. Sorry. I praised them for it being cheap, and then I saw the crash test, and now I can't recommend that to anybody because, as somebody who's lived through a couple car crashes, none of which were either my fault or the people who were driving me's fault, I can't. Safety is important, and just because somebody doesn't have an extra $10,000, $20,000, pounds, euros to spend doesn't mean that they are any less deserving of a safe automobile than anybody else.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think their biggest problem was when they got rid of Carlos Ghosn. The way they got rid of him was a little sketch, and more than a little sketch. And they're in a world of trouble. They're in a world of trouble. But at the same time, I do have hopes that the Aria does well. It's a very pretty car. It's doing the right thing, which was amazing because when they got rid of Carlos, I figured they were going to go back to hybrids and away from EVs because that was their whole problem. Is they didn't want an outsider controlling their company. They didn't want to they didn't want Japan controlling the other companies, and then the people from Japan didn't want an outsider controlling their company. This guy Jin is running our company, and he's doing stuff we don't want to do with all this electric stuff. Oh man. And so they conspired to get rid of him, and allegedly, and and he had to escape in an instrument case. They've got an uphill battle over Nissan, but even they are in a better position than Mazda with this 100-mile car, telling people it's a good second car. Why would they think that's okay?
Right, like why?
You can tell the story of why we built this car, why we were trying to save on batteries, blah blah blah, all that stuff they said the first time, and then mean it, and then make a new one that's better. We understand that it's not easy, but to double down on it, it's like, come on, guys.
But see, that's sometimes, like I said, that really can be misleading people that's really trying to understand the EV market in the world, and they see that kind of thing like, oh, nah, that's like, because like I told someone the other day, I'm like, I mean, I'm not rich or nothing, but you gotta be rich to have a great, good, reliable EV vehicle and so on.
Right. I don't even think that's Mazda's first EV. It might be the first modern one, but I don't think it's their first one. I'll look up something in a minute. So Eddie says, in the beginning, Leaf was iconic. Yeah, it was the first affordable electric car that people could buy of the modern era, and it sold well. It was the best selling until the Model 3 really got up to speed. It held its title for a long time after the Model 3 got up to speed too. But before I look up the Mazda, well, let me do that now before I forget, because I will forget. Mazda EV 1990s. Yep, they had one. I think everybody had one. Set developmental develops. Let's do electric. There we go. So in 1997, they had a fuel cell electric vehicle, which is an EV. It just runs on liquid fuel instead of batteries. Okay, and then an electric four-wheel steering system. Okay, that's not an electric car. Electric-powered vehicles based on the Mazda MX-5 are developed. That's in 1991. Electric louver. Electric sliding canvas top. Electric four-wheel column. Fuel cell electric vehicles. So that's 1997 was the last time Mazda had an EV. That was a while ago. So I understand being cautious, but again, it's 2022, you guys. You gotta do better. The starting point was 100, then add age, wind, cold, etc. Yes, exactly. That's why I'm so glad that my first EV was not a Leaf. It was almost a Leaf, and I would have been in a world of financial hurt had I done that instead of the Volt. At least with the Volt, I only burned a couple tablespoons of gas every now and then, unintentionally. The conversion was around 21,000 US for that used Model S. That's a good deal still. Thanks, John. David had a first-gen Leaf. Yeah, for me, the only reason that it would have been bad was because I was running the edge of the distance. It was a 50-mile commute both ways, and add winter, add battery degradation. I would have been in a world of hurt had I done that. Being the rotary engine guys, electric should be easy for Mazda. Exactly. Just replace that monster with a spinning ball of magnets, and you're golden. It was hard on the Leaf, but I made it work with a second emergency car. Yeah. I didn't have the luxury for a second car. I was still a young adult back then. All right, so let's close this Mazda search and get back to the next topic. Where did we go? All right, share this article. Come on, computer, play nice. All right, so this one is on MSN of all places, and they're tagged in Inside EVs, and this person is suggesting Tesla full self-driving beta gone wrong, 2 wheels destroyed. Nah, brah. See, you're in charge of the car. My car has tried to take out, stub its toe maybe about 5 times since we got the beta, and after seeing the original beta testers destroy wheels, and after seeing the first couple people in the first couple batches destroy wheels, you should be looking out for the car stubbing its toe. Just saying. When I see it pick a bad path, I just take over. Even if I'm wrong, that will send a signal that it was too close for comfort when Tesla reviews the data. And if I'm right, they'll also see, hey, I was about to destroy this wheel. This guy saved his car. You're in control. Exactly, John. It's called beta for a reason. You should be driving safely. But then Inside EVs came in through and found some more videos that this guy's had where he seems to just have bad luck with other entities controlling his car than him. In the case of the videos, it makes sense because he wasn't driving. This was a valet driving in a parking lot. Here's his dash cam. Just kind of spinning it around, speeding up. All right. He's reaching the end of the parking lot. What does he do? He starts to slow down. Okay. Then he gets up on the sidewalk for whatever reason. Pops a Yui. Sees a deer. There's the deer. And then he decides to launch it again. And then he can't control it. And boom. This is the same guy who had the problem with the beta test. That's bad luck. But, in this case, it was totally you controlling it. Tesla says they will not take any responsibility nor cover any cost. Tesla notified me they will not pay for the damage. Okay, so right there, you should stop right there. Tesla will not pay for the damage. He says, I suggest everyone forget using autopilot and FSD until it's ready for real-world conditions, unless you don't mind paying out of pocket for deficiencies of driving abilities. I've got over 20,000 miles. Wait, no, I haven't been out that much. Over 10,000 miles on the beta alone, and just watch it. You're in control. If you're not comfortable, stop.
That's
the deer was a sign. Like in the Matrix, you see that cat, you're like, I need to stop. I need to stop now. I agree, John. Exactly. So just a reminder that if you do apply for the beta and you get in, pay attention, stay in control, and don't try to blame other people. It's don't pass the buck. You're in control. Just like when my car tried to roll me out in traffic. What did I do? I pushed the brake.
It was on FSD?
Oh, yeah. It was on FSD.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, this is that same road that I start all my videos at, where it tries to park in the middle, even though it's too long, and it takes up either the nose or the tail or both will be in the other lanes if it tries to hang out there. But there were cars coming, and it made sure that the way we were turning was clear. I'm literally like a kid going this way and then going to hit start without actually looking back the other way. So back the other way were 6 cars coming at us at full speed, and so I was like, yeah, nah. Dude.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, John. That one's coming up, and I agree on that one as well. I think that one's coming up. Let me make sure. It was on Reddit, right? National Weather Service has issued a winter storm warning. It'll be in effect January 1st, 1 a.m. till January 3rd. Or January 3rd at 1 p.m., I believe. The end was cut off. Yes, so I do have the snow guy, and I'll be talking about him. All right, so this one, I don't know how I feel about this one. I feel bad for the owner, I'll say that. This is coming from GM Authority. Lawsuit filed over GM Chevy Bolt against GM and LG over Chevy Bolt EV and Bolt EUV battery recall. I think that LG deserves every bit of this. They've been through this before, and they still went through the exact same mistakes last time, or as last time. They did this with the Kona and in Korea, and apparently did not learn their lesson at all. In fact, made new mistakes and some of the same mistakes. And so a lawsuit's been filed, and I don't know that GM. I don't know that GM did much wrong here, other than being slow and unable to pick up the phone. I don't know that even that they were avoiding people on picking up the phone. I think they just have so many owners that they didn't have enough staff to answer the phone. Personally, I mean, I feel worse for the owners than anybody, but I don't know that. Not that a multi-billion-dollar company is my defense. It just doesn't seem that. Seems the real issue was with LG. But if you don't ask, you won't get. So.
Right.
Hopefully they get what they deserve. I mean, look at Eddie's case. He's got a car that's 1 year before all of this, and they got expanded and expanded and expanded. Now he's in it, and they're like, oh, we're gonna look at it. But if they look at it and they're not sure, are they gonna give him a new pack, or are they gonna say, we're not sure. Have a nice day. Hopefully he gets a brand new battery pack with a new range. All right, so then this one coming from Elon Musk. It's been a while since I've done any Elon Musk tweets on here. Many UI improvements coming, which was in response to the ability to remove sources needs to return. I only choose to use Spotify. However, with V11, Slacker gets used when using voice command. I prefer the safety of using voice command, but I want to choose my sources. Elon Musk, can we fix this? So after this, I actually ran into the same problem. I don't use XM radio. I don't want it. And it is clogging up my menus. And I was listening to Spotify the other day, and I asked for a song, and it started playing on Live by Live. And Live by Live didn't actually play it. And even though I'm a member, it still acts like I'm on the free Tesla plan. And so after it decided it wasn't going to play the song, I then got stuck into a random playlist, because if you're not paying, you don't get to choose your music. But if you are paying, they don't care, because it's a Tesla. That was annoying. And yeah, having the XM radio and the terrestrial radio clog up my screen is less than ideal. So Elon said many UI changes are coming. And that's exciting. And so that's what I was talking about when I said, we'd get on it later. Almost got an accident an hour ago. Dashcam didn't catch it. Does something happen when, if I brake hard, it makes the dashcam skip while it's recording? And I said, I've been having mine not initialized since FSD Beta 10.2 randomly. So basically, when I start my trips, sometimes the dashcam just isn't on. And so what I found is I have to unplug the dashcam and plug it back in from the USB, the Tesla one. And usually that fixes it. But then sometimes I have to reboot the MCU to get it back as well. And then talked about a Raspberry Pi. Do I still have it on my desk? It was right here. It's not now. Anyway, it's a Raspberry Pi 4, and I've got Marconi's Tesla USB project running on it, where it's a Tesla, it's a Raspberry Pi 4. And so what happens is the Tesla records to it as if it was a thumb drive. And then when I pull up in the driveway, it uploads all of the videos to a file share I've got on one of the computers in the house, file server. And then I can go through and view and manipulate files, whatever I need to do, without having to go out and remember to grab the USB drive, get my footage, and remember to put it back in the car before we start the next drive. But I took it out because on 10.3.1 the stoppages got to be excessive, and so I just put back in the SSD that I keep in there. And then I explained that how I was doing it. You're welcome. And Zach asked, can we get the tire pressures and trip meter back on the bottom left instead of in the service menu? So on my legacy car, it's right where it always has been. Hold the wheel, scroll to tire pressures. Those people like to photobomb him a lot, don't they? The one who just got a prison sentence and that other one. All beta drivers must watch The Matrix or Terminator to get in the proper mood. I agree. Had a software mod on Monday. How does that work, Eddie? What was it from the dealership or was it another one? And how did it go? What was in it? John says, I haven't updated my Model S yet. So are the music options all hidden? Can we have more than one favorite in the dock? Yes. So I've got Spotify first and then Slacker next to it in the dock. But the icon they chose to use for Slacker is not a good choice. It would make sense if it was like Tesla streaming, but Live by Live and Slacker both have their own logo, and so I was kind of looking for that or something that screamed music. And so even though it was right next to the one that I had, basically my Spotify froze, as it sometimes does. And so I was looking for the Slacker, and it was literally right next to the Spotify icon, but because it didn't look like the old one, it didn't look like any of the official ones, I was looking in the menu, I was trying to glance past the stupid XM radio icon that I didn't want to see, and it was there the whole time. Just right, one dot over. But yeah, I think you can have 4 icons of your choosing in the dock, but they're not just willy nilly whatever you want. It has to be one of the ones that's already in the dot in the when you hit the dots to get the list of apps. It has to be one of them. You can just drag it down. Yep, very cool. The Raspberry Pi. And how do you use the Pi? So let me open up a tab and there we go. So here's the link. Share screen with you guys. So the Raspberry Pi Tesla is, I'm using this particular project from GitHub by Marconi. And they've got some instructions. And so what I did was I just went through and they have some nice instructions after I finally started using it. But you'll need a Raspberry Pi 0W or a Raspberry Pi 4 because they have both Wi-Fi and the ability for them to act as hosts, so they can or not to host, but where they have USB on the go, so they can then host a USB storage device emulation for the car to write to, as if it was a thumb drive, and then when you get near Wi-Fi, it drops for a couple minutes while it uploads all your files and it comes back. And then it also has the ability to, if you have a large enough storage card in your Raspberry Pi, or if you're using a USB device attached to the Pi, what you can do is when the car goes to delete the files, like your 1 hour loop, when it goes to delete them, it can delete them. The car can't see them anymore, but when you still get home or to the work or wherever your server is, it can then upload them anyway. Or if you have cellular connection, if you have it like that, unlimited, you can have it constantly streaming to your server. And by server, I mean literally, it could be your Windows PC, Linux PC, just your regular desktop with a file share. Or like me, I have a NAS, and I have it go to that. And, I've pasted it, but I didn't push enter. So there is the link. It's a pleasure, John. Okay. So, yeah, so this is the one, Marconi Tesla USB. It's very active. Like in the discussions, there's a lot of people discussing on the discussions. They'll close them, open them. I didn't have any problem with power, but some people had some problem with power, so they had to do a like a battery pack or a dual port situation. But mine didn't care. It was fine. All right. And what was next here? So this one I'm sure that the news will turn it into something else, just based on the title of this Reddit. It says, fire in a Tesla store, or fire at Tesla store in Superior, Colorado. But then when you look, outside is on fire. And then when you read the news, Colorado's on fire. So it's not really the Tesla store on fire. It's just the only thing that made it relevant to this Reddit thread. But the news is going to see this. Go ahead.
Now, I said, just let that Tesla TV somewhere in the frame or somewhere near.
They're going to be all over it. Absolutely. It's a pleasure, David. Yeah.
But yeah, I heard that was bad out there, though.
Yes. So, life on Mars confirmed. And so then the very last Bison says, let's be very clear, this is part of a forest fire, not a fire originating at a Tesla. This could be misleading. And they're right. 580 homes burned and snow 16 hours later. Brother-in-law's on fire and rescue crew up there. Couldn't get enough water to do much of anything. Plenty of vehicles, but the tankers were difficult to replenish and air support was impossible. I haven't had an update since last night. He's probably asleep. Yeah, these things are a mess. Let me open back the tweet and send that other David the link as well for the Raspberry Pi. Okay, there we go. Now everybody's got it. So now we've got what I call a recall. I had a cool, it doesn't pronounce. We got a lot of recalls coming up. So let's start with, I don't typically cover the fossil recalls because I don't care. And this one's not big enough that I would say anything about it, but this one's kind of set the mood, set the appetite, get us going. Ford has recalled 185,000 F-150 trucks over drive shaft issues. I don't think this will affect the electric F-150 because it's got a direct drive just like every other EV. Well, almost every other EV. But, and it's not out yet for one. But the vehicle's drive shaft could increase the risk of a crash. Yeah, it's going to pole vault if that thing comes down from the engine side. If it comes down from the transmission side, then it just makes it unable to control it safely. 185,000 cars from model years 2021 and 2022, just due to an issue in which underbody heat and noise insulators may loosen and contact the aluminum drive shaft, which could damage the drive shaft and cause it to fracture, according to the safety recall. Ford notified the NHTSA of the recall on December 16th. And it took the news media until December 28th before anybody saw it. This is Detroit news. This is in their town. 12 days, right? 200,000 trucks. Okay. All right, so now let's go on to the rest of the news that actually matters to you guys. Still on recalls. Tesla recalls nearly 500,000 Model 3 and Model S cars. December 30th. And when did Tesla do this? I'm searching for the Tesla website for recalls. So on the generic webpage, they don't even have it on there yet. So I was trying to get the exact day, but December 30th, and it was last week that the Model S recall was even smaller. Front latch, my front has never popped open, so I think I'm good. Yeah, mine never popped open either. Always closed correctly. Tesla Q was all over the place on the Tesla One, of course. Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make. Because when we look at when it happened, let me close this tab I'm on and go back to the one that I'm sharing with you guys. December 30th. They were all over this. And The Verge isn't typical media. They do have themselves a little bit of anti-Elon, but they also, being a tech place, they also do adore him. So it's kind of a little weirder than most. But yeah, drive shaft issue, big issue. Model 3 camera wire issue, tiny issue. Yeah, it's not even like the cars are catching fire. If the cars are catching fire, that would be huge. But literally, your rear view camera blanks out and is no longer compliant with the law because new cars must have a rear view camera system, while the older cars, most of us that are listening here and speaking here, we grew up without rear view cameras. You turn your head, right? You look in the other mirror, right? You're good. But they made so much more out of this situation. The Model S recall is even fewer cars, but is actually more of an issue than the Model 3 in that if the second latch fails and the first latch fails together, then the front could pop open and hit the windshield or block your view at the very least. That's significant. So between the frunk and the drive shaft on the F-150, those are safety recalls, like real, true safety recalls. But Tesla did the right thing. They filed the paperwork for both of them. They've started emailing and writing, like in the mail letters to owners. I got a in the mail letter from them because I had the FSD beta 10.3.0 on my car for the duration of this live stream, and they wanted me to know I should upgrade, and even though I'd upgraded live on show, and so before they even started printing letters, I was already in compliance with the new one, and yeah, he says they're kind of nice. I like them. I use them all the time, but if it stopped working, I would just turn my head, and then I'd go get it fixed. But but it's not a all the news is going to make it out to be. So here we go. So Tesla did this on the 21st, and they reported on the 30th, pretty much the same time that everybody else reported it as well. So I'm guessing that's when NHTSA got it through their system. All right, so Model 3 trunk harness is equipped with a solid core coaxial cable that provides the rear view camera feed visibility on the center display. Over time, the repeated opening and closing of the trunk lid may cause excessive wear to the coaxial cable. If the wear causes the core of the coaxial cable to separate, the rear view camera feed is not visible on the center display. Yeah, there's no connection. Unavailability of the rear view camera display may affect driver's rear view and increase the risk of a collision. Yes. If there is a loss of rear view display, the driver can continue to operate the vehicle by performing a shoulder check and using their mirrors when back. So even the government says, hey, just look over your shoulder. Coaxial cable is affixed to a harness on the trunk lid and extends or folds as the trunk opens and closes. When the trunk is in a closed state, the harness folds and may experience a tight bend radius, stressing the core of the cable. Material wear on the harness may cause flickering or intermittent rear view camera visibility on the center display. And they're going to fix it. That's what this recall is all about. So this was fast. In June 2021, the field quality team observed a potential trend in trunk harness consumption in service and initiated engineering studies. So this is Tesla doing this part. From June 2021 to August of 2021, failure analysis were performed on harness samples that were replaced in service. Based on this analysis, a root cause was hypothesized and developed. This is freaking fast. In June, they noticed the problem and started collecting parts. August, they had the parts and figured out what was up. August and December, they recreated it with tests and further assessed the suspected root cause, determined the condition was potentially the result of another root cause, and assessed the safety impact of the collision. In addition, design and manufacturing records were reviewed to identify the scope. And see, that's the other cool thing is as they build all these Model 3s and now the new Model S's and X's, like every bolt torque, like every screw they tighten down is logged in that car's MCU. So the car knows how it was built. So they can literally just say, hey, what batch are you from? Was bolt number 7,000 tightened correctly? They could do a recall from that. The team completed their investigation, confirming suspected root cause on December 10th. December 14th, they issued the recall. December 16th, Tesla identified 2301 warranty claims and 601 field reports between October and December. This is a software company. It's not a hardware company. It's fast. And estimates only 3% of the camera wires will break. Exactly. They're doing the right thing. I've read about Tesla Surface Center in Superior, Colorado, damaged by wildfire in the state history. Yeah, it's the one we just had that was on fire there. Okay, so now here's the one for the Model S. This one is more substantial. The secondary front latch actuates into position in the back of the front striker. On some Model S vehicles, the latch assembly may be aligned too far rearward. While this alignment does not impact the latching of the primary latch with the front striker, it may prevent the latching of the secondary latch. If the primary latch is inadvertently released, the secondary latch is not engaged, the front may open and obstruct the driver's visibility and may risk a crash. But, it was what, 2,000 cars? Potentially 119,000 cars, but probably about 14% of that actually need an adjustment. And it's not even they don't need a part, they just need to realign the teeth so it latches correctly. And that was another fast one. September 16th, 2014 to December 23rd, 2020 is the dates. And then they go through how they did it. So in January of 2021, they saw some Model Ys and Model S vehicles whose fronts open while in drive. April to May, they figured out a study. June to November, they did a broader study on Model S vehicles. And November 21 to December 21, they reviewed the study, and in December they issued a recall. It's fast. They did the right thing. Everybody has recalls. We just saw the other day Asus Raj boards were burning up in people's computers. That's fire. Fire could be deadly. And it took them maybe a week and a half to do the same stuff that Tesla's doing here. They determined that robots in some factories were putting a capacitor in upside down and backwards. And what that could do is it would still work for a minute, but because it was slowly building up a charge to the point it was out of spec, then it would burn. And either it would smolder and just break the computer, or worse, it would flames. And so they did the same thing. They released a recall, and they said, stop using it. If you got this batch, we'll take care of you. It's doing the right thing. I can respect a company that does that. But a company that goes through and says, how much is this going to cost us? What if we hide this? Oh, what if we just pay off the families? No. That's not doing it right. And every company is going to have problems with stuff. I make mistakes at my day-to-day job all the time. I'm human. I make mistakes. But if they say, hey, you messed this up, what are you going to do to fix it? Oh, thank you for bringing it to my attention. Let me fix it now. And then I fix it. Stuff happens.
That's correct.
But how you respond to the mistakes, that determines whether it's a company I want to do business with.
That makes sense.
I wanted bird's eye camera, but didn't want to pay for Premiere version. Nice. So you got them to add that with your mod? Mobile service should be able to review the latch issue. Yes, exactly. Literally, they open up your front, they take out all the trim, the plastic pieces, so they can expose the metal latches, and then they adjust it. And in fact, they probably don't even need to take the front out. They can open the front and probably look at the little ring that's formed there that catches it, and see where all the marks have formed. If they only see one set of marks on a car that's supposed to have two sets of marks, that second one's not engaging correctly. Yes, Breakneck Trent. That was one I was about to bring up later in the show. Yes, so let's talk about that one in a minute. Big Auto really has the hidden fatality problem historically. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So that wasn't your mod. What did you get on your mod, Eddie? Was it the factory or aftermarket? All right, so before I move on to the Ford seatbelts, let's go to and talk about on the front latches. After that Verge article was written, Tesla extended the camera and latches to 200,000 more vehicles, this time in China. I mean, that makes sense too, because all the Model S's and X's come from Fremont. So just because it was not sold here doesn't mean that it wasn't built by the same team. So they're doing the right thing there. And the same thing with the Model Ys and Model 3s, they use the same parts. So, I mean, they're still human. Just because they have a different citizenship doesn't mean they're not human. So take care of them. Yeah, see, no biggies. Schedule service for a day, choose Tesla app, complete recall on my driveway. Done. Still need to watch motor recall. Okay, so close that, and then I'm looking for particular tweets from... here we go. This one's from Chris. So Chris was tweeting, every time some Tesla issue gets overblown like this, I like to pull out this gem. Ford recalled 2 million F-150s because the seatbelts could catch on fire. And then he includes a link to the article. And then he says, for those asking how that's possible, according to Ford, seatbelt pretensioners can generate excessive sparks when they tighten it before a crash that can ignite the gases inside a support pillar between the front and rear seats, causing... Is that the right word? Insulation? And no, it's not. Insulation and carpet to catch fire. That does say insulation. Is it spelled funny? It might be this Twitter font. It doesn't look right. Anyway, cause the insulation and the carpet catch fire. I'm willing to bet Consumer Reports didn't bother making an announcement like that for something far bigger and more dangerous and recent, like 2022 F-150 recall. Yeah, so the drive shaft recall we just talked about. Who needs a drive shaft if the rear view camera doesn't even work? She's making a joke here. She's totally on the Tesla team. Don't give her any hassle. I must confess, if my rearview camera goes out, I am unable to drive my vehicle, so the drive shaft is irrelevant. Can't possibly end 2021 this way. Recall! Oh, man. Okay, and so then he linked, Chris had linked to PBS NewsHour, where they went into the details on this seatbelt fire from 2014 to 2018. And then we had Chevy with the heavy keys. What was that, 10 years ago? Heavy keys. That's kind of bad because your engine could click off while you're driving, and the way it clicks off, the steering wheel is also likely to lock as well. So eventually, they did longer than that. I still working at Chevy when it happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean it was much older than that, but I think that's when we finally did something about it, and. I mean, I'm not saying that GM was trying to hide it, but they sure did take their time to do anything about it. And that was on old GM. I think that was part of the problem, was because you had old GM and new GM, because they had just came out of bankruptcy and being a ward of the country. Not really a ward of the state, ward of the country. Skeletor wins every time. Yes, this one was another one. I was working at Toyota when this one happened. Do you remember when Toyota pulled the gas pedal, which was predetermined to be the carpet mat? And it wasn't even the stock mats. It was because some people were putting in another mat on top of the mat that we gave them, or sold them. Because some of the cars with Toyota, you had to buy your mats. Toyota and Honda were really big on selling mats rather than just giving them to you, unless your car was expensive. So somebody would have two mats, and then the first one didn't have the Velcro or the hooks or the whatever method to keep the mat in place, and it would slide up under the pedal. And so what we were doing was we were clipping the pedals so they would be shorter, so they couldn't get caught by the mats. And so what was happening is they'd have the pedal pushed down, the mat would slide, and it would catch, and it would. Well, it didn't have to crash. These people would panic, and they would steer into something while it was going at great speed. What you should have done was put it in neutral. So what if that's going to burn up your engine? You're not going to crash this way. Put it in neutral, slam on the brakes, and hold them firmly. And you're not just push them down aggressively and until you get to a stop, and then cut the engine. The Audi 5000. That one wasn't even anything really wrong with the car. It was just people having trouble with where to put their feet. But that one was the whole beginning of the unintended acceleration, the Audi 5000. All right, let's go back to fun stuff. Well, not really fun, but so we talked about, or did we? I might have missed it. Because we talked about it on the Tesla Live, and then everything blends together. So we might have talked about on the show where people were complaining that you could play games in the car while you're riding down the road. And this was not this week. This was on the Tesla Live show. So they were saying that you have to, if you were a passenger, you had to say I'm a passenger, and the car would let you then continue to play non-graphical, not really non-graphical, but non-distracting games like solitaire or now Sudoku. But then my argument was that on your phone, when you're running the GPS app, or when you're doing anything else like that, the phone asks, "Hey, are you driving this vehicle that you're in? Because you're moving at 65 miles an hour. There's no way you're walking that fast, dude." And you say, "Yeah, I'm not driving," and that's enough for the government. But apparently, if you're driving a car, that was no longer enough for them, despite the fact that the same person who hits yes on the phone could be the same person hitting yes on the dashboard. Hopefully, they're the passenger in both cases, but they might not be. So the story got updated between when I put it in my list and today. That's what I'm getting at. So now Tesla requires you to verify that you are the passenger through a seat adjustment before using the passenger play feature. So, and it's been updated. But what would happen is you click "I'm a passenger" and they say "prove it." I'm a passenger. Prove it. So now you have to move the seat in some way, because the seat controls are all the way over there, and there's no way the driver can push them, especially in the Model 3 and Model Y and the refresh Model S and X with that camera watching you. If you suddenly do this and then the seat moves, they know what happens. But like in older cars like mine, it's just so big of a car that it's really hard to do. Somebody joked that they would make a seat pusher stick defeat device. So you can reach over there, but that would be tough to do. Because you got to have some super dexterity, and then... So anyway, let's see what the update is. Tesla agreed to halt the use of passenger play, saying it will send an update to vehicles to make the feature be locked out and unusable when the vehicle's in motion. And they did. And then they came up and said in the holiday update, and they said, "All right, so passenger play is still there, but now you gotta verify you're actually the passenger." Until tonight, the driver simply had to tap a button that said "I'm a passenger" in order to gain access to the games while driving. And so then a new message pops up asking you to verify that you're a passenger by making adjustments to the passenger seat controls. Green the Only found this in his travels. After receiving the holiday update, it appears that this is not active, and all games require the car to be in park to function. Okay, so I hope that what Green saw is coming soon, because that seems to be the best compromise. Now it says Sonic available in park. I still didn't take my Xbox controller to it. I used it with my my controller that came in the test box, and it didn't like it at all. It treated me like the kid brother. Like I was pushing the buttons and stuff was happening, but I wasn't playing the game because they were not corresponding to what I was pushing. That was fun. It'll be interesting to see what the NHTSA response to Tesla's implementation compared to what they said they would do. So for what they said they would do is that they would take it out, and that's what they've done. But what I'm hoping is that Green is right, and that this is coming back, where you have to adjust the passenger seat.
Hey, speaking of that,
yeah.
Speaking of that, real quick, do you think the PS5 remote control will work with the game?
Yes, it will. It will.
Okay.
Those are the two that Elon was always showing us: is the Xbox One and the PS5 controllers.
Gotcha.
As long as you're using the USB, obviously. All right, so suddenly the passenger lumbar becomes super used, I guess. That one is an inside joke, because Elon said, if you guys aren't familiar, Elon said that that the passenger seat lumbar was being removed from Model 3 and Model Y because nobody uses it. Does Smoke have lumbar support on the passenger seat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have to pay just slightly more than $50,000 to get a lumbar support. Does that mean they will keep seat controls for the passenger side for the Model 3? Absolutely. And darn, I agree. All right, so and that was the end of that article. I mean, you want me to delete the article? Because then all the links aren't going to work. Literally, he did the right thing. He's like, hey, he didn't make it like he didn't say something. He literally came through and said, hey, fresh thing. I mean, the only thing that he could do different is put the fresh thing on top, and you can read the fresh thing and then read what it used to say. He left it in order. Here's what it used to say, and then here's the new thing. Some critics, man. I mean, and I understand what he's saying, but the way that he said it was just uncalled for. Like, it was super rude. He could have instead of calling the man a liar, be like, hey, this would read better if you do this.
It's about how you say it.
Yeah, it's all about how you say it. Say the exact same thing, and maybe not call him a liar, and get the intended results.
Right.
I mean, the amount of news this guy breaks all over the world. You call him a liar. Oh man. So this one's coming from Teslarati. Tesla Model Y performance trims spotted leaving the Gigafactory in Berlin, minus the rear bumpers. But this makes sense. Tesla always starts with performance cars when they start a new factory. The Model S, the Model 3. No, the Model 3 they didn't. The Model 3 they started with the long range rear wheel drive. But the Model 3 in China was performance. All right, so here we go. Model Y performance variant spotted on haulers in Germany, leaving the soon to be approved production facility with plans to open in early 2022 in Berlin. This one has a bumper. See?
Mm-hmm.
That one's probably going to a showroom. Actually, they're probably all going to showrooms because it makes sense because they don't have the operating license yet. Let's see. It can be working out in several ways. Red brake calipers or red line under the dual motor badge. Yeah, but you won't see red brakes on a Plaid unless it's got the $20,000 brake kit.
UP makes them too. Huh? UP makes them too. UP.
Yeah. Are theirs red?
Yeah, you can get them in red or black or custom color.
Okay.
For $300-$400 more, you can do your own custom color. If I'm not mistaken, $300 more, but you already like it $10,000.
Yeah, and the $10,000 makes sense because it's slightly smaller. And is it just the front brakes or is it all of them?
The front. It's just the front. You get back brake lines of stainless steel though, but it's just front. But you get the back brake lines because they need that pressure for the racing fluid.
That's fair.
For the temperature.
That's fair. I mean, especially when you consider what most Tesla drivers would use it for. The four wheel, it's a whole other level. And you know, Smoke's not doing those kind of races. He's doing straight line races. Whereas
Correct.
the ones you would want all four to be ceramic for, you're doing circuits.
But I can't confess. Yesterday I got a chance to do. I was driving. I drove it around a curve, almost doing 100, and it handled like crazy. It was like
nice.
It was so fun. Like this is just a mean machine. Honestly, it can handle curves. You know, with those machines I have on the 19s.
And that yoke makes it easier to handle too.
Yes, I don't understand what's the hype where everybody's coming up with adapters and. Well, don't get me started on that because I saw that I was like, okay.
Yeah, so I had a yoke built for Tacoma that was that came in before Christmas, but it didn't have the heater in it. So they rebuilt it and shipped it out yesterday from China. So now it's got the heater in it. They showed me a picture of it at the factory. It was still beautiful, but now it also had my the heater plug. So I know I can put it in the car, and I'll make a video on that.
Nice.
Tough crowd. The internet requires flame retardant undies. Absolutely. Yeah, that guy was quick on them. I'm impressed. Germany is a tough regulatory environment. Good for Tesla getting moving on. Yeah, and so I think what's going to happen here is after they get their certificate, they'll be able to sell those cars from the showroom at the next quarter when they do their clear out. And so I bet you those aren't the only ones either. I bet you there's probably a couple thousand of them just ready to go. As soon as they get permission, slap the stickers on there and roll them out the door. All right, so let's get away from Tesla Land for just a minute. Ford Mach-E, Tesla Model 3 to join NYPD. Well, I guess not really away from Tesla Land all that much. Tesla's still there. Ford Mach-E, Tesla Model 3 to join NYPD and NYC agencies for government use. So, was it 2 weeks ago we touched on how Tesla got the no bid on the public service cars for New York? Well, it looks like they also got some with the NYPD, and so did the Mustang Mach-E. So good on them. The Mach-E is a nice car. Update the New York. See, I think this is what the guy wanted. He wanted to see the update up top, not in line. But you should say that. Hey, you should put the update up top instead of just barking at the guy. New York City Department of Citywide Administrative Services confirmed to Teslarati they will purchase 250 Model 3 units for the New York City fleet. That's the one we talked about. And the contract for the Mustang Mach-E has been finalized. The contract for Model 3 sedans is undergoing the approval process, has not yet been finalized. This is why the Model 3 was not included in the press release. Yeah, but the way that it was presented to us last week or week before was that the Model 3 was the only one that met the requirements. So it's just a matter of finishing the paperwork. And unless somebody has legitimate objections, because there was also like a hearing process in that. So 184 Mustang Mach-E's and 250 Model 3s. Not bad. Kudos to Ford on that one. And we're not done with Ford this week, so get those flame retardant undies on. All right, so then we got that article from Dan again about the Tesla bot personalities. Let's get some spy shots going. So Inside EVs, or one of their sister companies, had a video of the pre-production Cadillac Lyriq spotted in traffic with almost no camouflage. That's coming from Reese Capone. All right, so yeah. I don't know that that's camouflage. I think it's just another trunk. I mean, who cares if all the parts match if it's you can tell they're in Detroit. Who cares if all the parts match if it's a prototype?
I like to see a lowrider over there on 60.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's how, you know they're in Detroit. That's a pretty car. I don't care. It's a pretty car. Okay, so it's missing the badge, and the trunk is another color for some reason. So what? I like it. This thing's going to sell well. Mary Led, guys. Mary Led.
It looked like it got a pretty good, just from the tail of how it was bouncing. Good suspension. Good ride suspension on there.
Yeah, and people were complaining about the tape on the Cybertruck. Everybody's got tape on their prototypes. All right, so let's let's get a link to this guy's video if you want to hear his music and see the full video.
You think that's a Tesla there? You think?
No, he's not a Tesla. That's a GM or Ford actually.
No. Test like a testing vehicle.
Yeah, it's a prototype. Yeah, it's a prototype.
Yeah, prototype. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're out there making sure it can handle Detroit roads because they ain't smooth. Yeah. Hey, they're not telling you to watch this show this week. What's up with that? Remember last week, every single video we watched, they said you should be watching this show. All right, let's see what people said about it. Yeah, so that's how it looks in the end. I like it.
I like it. Yeah, I saw the commercial. I like it.
Yeah. Eddie said too late for Cam on it.
Are they going to get different battery options, or have you seen anything on that? I don't know. It's like only offering things.
AC charging up to 19.2. Battery modules up about 300 miles range, 100.4 kilowatt hour battery. I'm not seeing a pair of battery choices here, so it looks like you might just have one, or at least at launch.
Nice.
Why does the front end have to look like that? Because it's better to make something that's loved by some than liked by many. So it'll have more character than Duckface.
I kind of like it though. It's different.
Yeah.
It's kind of like even better in person.
Absolutely. Okay, so what is this? All right, so we talked about the Waymo. I don't know how. Yeah, we talked about the Waymo. And, it came up again. I see why. This is the one that was talking about the Chinese should make the domestics afraid. And this is why the shift to robotaxis is frightening to OEMs. Customers don't care a lot about the car brand that picks them up. While you might choose between Uber Select and Uber Black to get the level of car, you don't care if it's a Lexus or a Mercedes. And they're right. You don't. I mean, if you work for a factory and it happens to be one of yours, yeah, you might be a little bit nicer. Hey, yeah, this is I built this. Or if your factory builds duds, you might be a little embarrassed. What do you do? Oh, I'm in automotive. Versus, I built your car, man. Oh, let me tell you about my car. It's even worse for the OEMs. One of the way the top brands have gotten their reputations has been making high-quality, reliable cars. Chinese manufacturers are new to the game. They make lower-cost cars, but may not have yet reached the quality levels of BMW, Mercedes, or Toyota. When people buy cars, they care about whether it's going to break down or not. So when your car breaks down, even if it's under warranty, it's a major burden. You get stranded, you have to arrange for the car, blah, blah, blah. If it's an Uber, who cares? Call me a new Uber. I'm jumping cars. Let's get out of here. It's true. It's totally true. And, I mean, this one looks nice. I have to ride in it to tell you it is nice, but it looks nice. All right, so then back in more tales of personal responsibility with the beta, this guy is telling us about how he got kicked out of the beta, long post. Apparently, he did all the stuff to get in the beta, but didn't look at any articles, any videos, didn't realize that the car is watching him and he should not be goofing around. He says, I only looked at the screen twice to put in a map, and then I was kicked out. I think he's exaggerating on the only looked at the screen twice because, from what I'm understanding, unless he had one of those sensitive ones, there are sensitive ones out there, the builds. Looking at the screen has not been one that would take you out of the beta if you were just glancing at the Tesla screen. But if you were glancing at another screen, or if you were glancing out the passenger window or something for too long, so far that has been flagging the system. But there were a couple of builds where they, if you weren't straight ahead with the eyes, it was sending warnings. So I don't want to say, no, it's impossible. I just want to say that it feels like the fact that he just got in feels like he might not have understood based on the fact that everybody else who was complaining says that theirs were fixed. But he could have found a new one. This is a beta. So you can read his tale here. And if you are not yet in the beta and you're interested in it, listen to his cautionary tale and be cautious. All right, and so let's not get into the comments because we are not yet wearing our flame retardant suits, and some people in these areas, when you start talking even truthfully, not sounding nice to Tesla, they get their knickers in a twist. So, then this guy, also from the Tesla Motors Club, he had an experience renting a Hertz Model 3, and he details a couple things like making sure that your rental documents actually say Tesla Model 3 on them, and being prepared to have to go back and forth with the staff if they're not sure what's going on. But he did this right when Tesla and Hertz just first got together, so they may have it smoother now. But he went in. They said you could pick anything for the gold lot, and the Model 3 was only in the one under whatever Hertz calls gold, like premium lot or whatever. It wasn't his reservation was too high to get the Tesla, but it said Tesla Model 3 on it, so he was good. So he got it. He misses having the phone key, but as we just saw, maybe Hertz can get you in on the phone key situation once they teach their people how to use it. So if you want to read about that tale, it's right here. Has anyone in the audience rented a Model 3 from Hertz yet? I rented a Model S from Enterprise. Well, Tesla did for me, and that was fun. I've never seen a seated dab before, but I would call that a seated dab based on the that posture and the license plate. All right, so then we have Reddit talking about the Model 3 with Ryzen, and then let's see what the comments are on this one. This is huge, waiting for delivery in February, really hoping for the Ryzen. I agree. Same here, hope we look out and get the double-paned acoustic glass in the rear doors. That would be silent. This one is asking, what are the advantages? And this one answers, based on the comparison videos, which we saw here earlier today, MCU2 versus MCU3 on a Model 3 in China, there's a vast improvement across the board from boot up, UI movement, game loading, and web browser loads almost 8 times as fast. And then they said, cool. And I agreed that hopefully they let us all upgrade to this thing. We'll see. The fact they start calling my car Legacy means they probably won't. Wonder if the optional Model 3 fob might help with rentals. Never rented it myself, but I would. Actually, I think it will, because they're going to give you the key card. And all you need to add new keys is the key card. But to add phone key, you need the key card and the account. So I think you'll be able to add keys to the car. Just remember to undo them, because that could get interesting. You're walking through a lot, you're trying to get to your own car, and then 3 of them open up for you because you went on a couple business trips. That and future-proofing, Adam works on V11, but maybe not on 12 or 13. And that's where, if they do that, I really hope that, like I said, the original Model S will be able to upgrade as well. And then they argue about whether or not it includes a GPU or not. So far, everything I've seen indicates it doesn't have the GPU from people who've taken it apart. But then this person here is claiming that that it does include the GPU, and that they've seen photos of the backside where the GPU hangs out. But then they fail to produce a picture of it, so the only thing we know for sure is it's going to include the new chip, and we don't know if it's going to include the new graphics chip unless you're in a Model S or Model X so far. So if you think you can play Cyberpunk in your car, it better be an S or an X if you want to be sure of that. All right, so let's go down to Marcus's neighborhood and talk about that monstrous factory there. Perhaps next week it's going to beat Giga Berlin to production. Because we knew it was going to happen in 2022 and early, but we didn't know who was coming first, and we didn't know when. Well, rumors are that it could be as early as next week with Giga Austin. As we saw the jig, but the jig didn't necessarily mean it's coming. It just means that they're practicing some structural pack assemblies. And so according to this new unofficial report, John... Okay, so John is the drone pilot we saw earlier, with outstanding drone videos and analysis, has written that the production will start next week, so the first days of 2022. In that case, Patrick will win the wager. Because I actually won with Shanghai, but the Shanghai expansion finished before Berlin or Austin came online. But Berlin had months of head start ahead of Austin, and Austin caught up, and it looks like they're about to lap Berlin, and that's really cool to see. Please spin up Austin. I need my Cybertruck. I agree. I totally agree. So it'd be pretty big news if this is true, and it'd be more than pretty big news. It would be ginormous, because what's going to happen is this thing's going to make Model Ys, and it might not make them this fast at first, but it's going to be putting out like Model Ys every minute when it comes done. They're going to start slow, going to get everything dialed in. It might only make 2 colors when it first comes out, just like Giga Berlin is only going to make black and white cars. But once they get that in place, they're gonna make the whole new Tesla palette. They're gonna have 3 new colors in Austin or in Berlin. Yeah, so this is exciting. Yeah, see that 20,000 pounds is a good deal. Here's 45. Here's 66. These ones have AP1 and AP2. If you look at their, this one has the side cameras. Can I get to it with the mouse without changing to the front of the car? You can't. But it's got triple front camera, and then this one's got the radar down below. Anti-EV rhetoric about Tesla timeline. What a joke. Nobody will buy those. Sure, they can build a few thousand of those a year to sell to rich virtue signalers. They'll never sell them in volume. Mass market EV, they're not going to build enough. Sure, they can build $400,000 car, 400,000 cars a year, but they'll never build a million. Okay, they're building 3 million cars a year, and it's the most sold brand in most markets, but it'll never be the biggest car company in the world. Sure, they're the biggest car company in the world, but they haven't completely replaced ICE cars. Fine, they're the only car company in the world that build 20 million cars a year. It's incredibly profitable. They never build spaceships. Okay, so he went on a little too far. They're not going to be the only car maker, but they're going to be big. They're going to be big. All right, so then we've got Hey Dave 7. He is reporting that the quarter 4 delivery numbers most likely tomorrow. He wrote that yesterday, and as we saw at the beginning, thanks to Anders, that they are out, and anything above 270 deliveries, he's happy, and so he is happy because it was in the 300s. Tesla report much higher deliveries, even 290 plus. Yep, they did, 300 plus. And delivery numbers will be a prelude to Q4 earnings in late January. So for those of you that remember, this is not an investment advice, not an investment show, blah, 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 just dudes on the internet, dudes and dudettes whenever they show. He's suggesting, for those of you that listen to him, that that means that we're going to have good numbers for the earnings call in January. I believe it, because every time they've hit new records like this, there's been a little bit of rally. If we see a Tesla stock split this year, he thinks it will be around summer or fall. I hope it's another multi-split like we had last time, like 5-1, 6-1, something. Biggest short-term risks are ramp problems at Austin and Berlin. There will be. The question is, how do they handle them? No EV tax credit passed this year. They haven't had a tax credit in, 4 or 5 years now? It hasn't affected them. No, not 4 or 5 years. 3 years. 3 years, because my car's almost 3. I got the tax credit. New used cars come down a lot, and Tesla's forced to lower prices a lot, which impacts margin. Tesla's always aimed for a 25% margin, so right now they're actually above that as far as, prices, but as far as getting their components, they might not be that far ahead because of the supply shortages. But if everybody else is able to bring their cars down a lot, that means that the supplies have straightened out, which means that Tesla is still in a good place, because the $35,000 Model 3, it did happen, and they were making money on that. And so I don't put a lot of concern in the number 3, except for maybe the used car prices coming down, and Tesla overpaid for the used cars, and they still got a lot of them on hand, so the used cars could affect them with their resales. But Tesla doesn't seem to care about used car sales too much. Like, pretty much they only want to sell new cars. So this one is big, the 4680 ramp difficulties, because that would affect Austin and Berlin if they are shipping with the new cans instead of the old ones. Let's hope Tesla can hit 1200 again before this quarter ends. That'll be fun. Tesla profit earnings will shrink in time with or without QE. Trick is for Tesla to grow earnings and operating margin faster than PE shrinking down below 100, which may come around mid-2022. I'm bullish. Cool stuff. All right, got stuff in the chat. Let's see. David says, with all the price increases and production way up, man, that's got to be excellent. Exactly. Because what were we talking, like, all the way up until the beginning of last month, we had a price increase every week we talked about. Either a Model 3, Model Y, Model X, Model S. They were just... Sometimes we had 2 in 1 week.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be good. Yeah. All right, so then we talked about the Ford contract already, but I seem to catch a lot of the Tina Casey articles, and so she wrote one on it for Clean Technica. And since she does write long, we'll just paste that in the chat for you guys. Boop. Especially since we already talked about it. Okay, whatever. Somebody begging for attention on the internet. It didn't take you 400 years to make a video. All right, so I talked about the Ford recalls, right? And I said we'd come back to them, right? Well, I'm sorry, no, not Ford recalls. I said Ford. We'd come back to Ford. Well, here we are. not the recalls. So Ross says, it's a sad day when Ford has to warn their customers about Ford dealers gouging their EV customers, or all customers. Ford can never reach their goals with a dealer network with no ethics. And he's responding to where Mike Levine had said, if you're ordering a new vehicle, it's recommended the customers agree to a selling price with their dealer when the order is placed via signed purchase agreement. Keep the records. If the dealer won't sign or write a price confirmation, find another dealer. And this comes after we've seen Mike Levine and our friend Sergio have to help customers repeatedly. Sergio doesn't even work for Ford, and he's helping out these people with greedy dealers that are marking up the price of these cars. Sergio's only helping with the Mach-E that I understand. And then you've got the Bronco is another one, and the F-150 Lightning is another one that we're starting to see warnings about before it's coming out, where dealers are marking up $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on the cars, and this is what Mike is responding to. And so he's saying that if they're breaking contract, if you've got something on paper, then it's a lot easier for him to deal with than trying to hold their dealers to being reasonable people and not marking their cars up like a ridiculous amount and taking the free money of a car sold at sticker price, pre-ordered, dropped it to dealership. You're just getting paid thousands of dollars to do paperwork. No, it's not enough for you. You need to mark a $20,000 markup on it. There's one around the corner from me, Coons Ford, that wrote an email, and then they walked it back, said it was an accident. What was the email? 30,000, Marcus? You saw that one?
What? Say it one more time.
Coons Ford, the Mach-E.
Yeah, it was 30. Yeah,
$30,000 markup.
Yeah, 30. Yeah,
they email people saying that, hey, if you buy a car from us, it's going to be 30,000 markup, and if you don't want to pay the 30,000, then we're going to tell Ford that you didn't want your order. We're going to keep the car and tell them you didn't want it.
And you forfeit your deposit or whatever.
Right, you forfeit your deposit too. And so then that got a lot of people in the groups that we run in upset. And then Sergio went and wrote them, and then they said, oh, we did it by mistake. You don't write a 3-page email and send it out by mistake. Writing it in the first place, that was your error in judgment. And the mistake might have been like, hey, your car is going to be 3 weeks late, and it's actually 6 weeks late, or it's early. That's a mistake.
Right. Right.
You wrote an email, proofed it, said, we want the extra money. The mistake was getting caught. The mistake was even writing it in the first place. The mistake was not sending it out. You meant to send it out.
There you go.
Don't miss dealers. Even with Tesla struggling with service, it does get done. Totally better than legacy car dealers. I agree. Will there be an e-Bronco? All I see are conversions. There has to be. If this car survives when Ford transitions all the way to electric, then it needs to be electric. It's the only way it works. Hopefully they built it with electrification in mind and they can just swap, not have to re-engineer it. Yeah. So continuing on with this, rather than me ranting at Ford dealers, and especially local ones. Tekla said, when the NSX was first announced, my dad went to a dealer and got a signed purchase agreement with MSRP for the second one, and they would get it. Instead, they sold it to someone else for market adjustment. He complained to Honda, DMV, got a lawyer, and less than a year later, they closed. Yeah, see, that's the case. This person had proven them breaking contract. But what's happening, and what Mike is saying, is that you need to get it on paper rather than just hoping that they do the right thing, because there's not really a lot Ford can do to these dealerships. They're not in a strong negotiating position here. Starman Ming points out that no worries. Mercedes has Ford beat with a $100,000 adjustment on the Mercedes EQS.
Whoa.
Car sells for $186,150, right? All right, they've agreed to sell it for $286,150 plus taxes, plus fees, plus optional packages that you don't get to choose because they're going to put them on before you know the car has landed. So how much are they going to charge for undercoating? How much are they going to charge for wheel nuts? Are they going to put low jack in it even though the car's got a computer and cell chip? It's high time that we do something about this. I worked for a couple dealerships. One would never do this, and another did this on all new cars. They would raise it up $5,000. And I was like, how do you expect me to sell this thing when you... I mean, yes, it's a nice commission, but how am I supposed to justify an extra $5,000? What do they get for this? Before I left, they changed it to $10,000. I'm glad I was going for that one. Ross says, how's that legal? It's legal. It's super scabby. So here's what's going to happen is all the customers who come across this are going to remember this when it's no longer the new car on the block, when there's a sitting on every lot and you get it any color you want in one day. They're going to remember this and they're going to treat you accordingly because they know that you're the scum. So was it worth an extra commission check one day if you plan to stay there for as a career? If you're going to be gone tomorrow, yeah, get it while you can. But as the owner of such a place, are you going to sell your business before these weasels are gone? Because if not, that's your name on the building. They don't remember that Jimbo salesman did this to them. They remember that Coons Ford in this case tried to bend them over. Some extreme weather in the southeast U.S. tonight. Winter thunderstorms and possibly tornadoes. Stay up to date. Stay safe. Absolutely, yeah. We've got some here in the East Coast as well. But that wasn't the only bit of this conversation. I think I did my thing finally. I did finally do the thing. Let me change Windows on you. Remember I said I was going to start keeping track of the ones I put hearts on because Twitter moves them around. They did, and I did once. All right, so Ross says I have FSD beta and it's delivered a majority of the features promised to customers. I like Ford Mike, fix your dealers, and that's in response to Mike getting his feelings hurt that Ross even brought that up in the first place. He says, deja vu all over again with Ross. Tesla still can't deliver this $10,000 FSD to customers who paid it in 2016. Don't worry, though. We'll see 1 million robotaxis on the road by the end of 2020. Sad day indeed. Keep up the ethics, slashers, Ross. No, Mike, that is not an ethical failure on Tesla. They are slowly working towards what was promised, but obviously we know Elon sucks with reading a calendar, a watch, or knowing what day an hour is part of. We know this. And I would rather them put out something safe to everybody than to let everybody, like the guy we talked about earlier with the wheels, or the other guy we talked about in the snow that we haven't talked about yet, loose on the world. Because once you give it to everybody without any sort of test or free qualification or sign up or whatever, some sort of acknowledgement that they understand that they are in control of this thing, then we're going to have a bad day. What is unethical is these markups and the threatening and holding of these reservations. For them to cancel your reservation just because you didn't pick it up with them for their markup. For them to tell Ford, hey, Ford, Casey doesn't want that car anymore. He told me. That's a daggum lie.
Yeah.
Casey didn't want to pay $10,000. Not that Casey was getting a Ford Mach-E. I can't afford as many cars as I had my eyes on. But so that's why Ross said that. And then Mike says, oh, it must be nice to be a big stockholder with your safety score. Maybe you can focus on helping Steve and the others get their FSD. All Steve has to do is pass the safety score. I mean, that's on Steve. That's all Steve. Pass the safety score and hold it. And if he needs the new cameras, that part sucks. If he's got 2017 or late 2016 with the right amount of cameras but the wrong lens, the wrong filter. But even they are starting to get like with the holiday update. We saw some of the people with the upgraded cars get their update finally, and I'm happy for them. And so I like MRX's response here. Chris said, Mike needs to fix his attitude just as much as the dealership network. You're losing customers with this oppositional cyberbullying based on based strategy. What I want to see is more of like we see when Mike isn't trying to poop on the Tesla people. He's like, hey, solving these problems, like, because Ford they had said literally, if you ordered your car before XYZ date and got a signed agreement, then we're going to make sure that these dealers can't screw you over. And a lot of people ended up with signed papers from the dealerships, but they didn't have a price on them. And that's what started all this. He said, hey, in the future, make sure you have a price on it. But these people don't buy cars every day. I sold cars every day. So I knew some stuff that they didn't know. And if I was anybody else, I could have used it to get over on them. But, my plan was for that to be a career. I wanted people to come back and buy their second and third cars from me. I have people that I've helped buy Teslas that I sold Hondas and Chevrolets to, and they trusted me. And even with the Tesla, they still feel good about that with me. They didn't pay me for the Tesla. I'm not a Tesla salesperson. But literally, they bought their second and third cars from me still, with me helping them make a purchase of a Tesla. Or a Mach-E or whatever, but I wasn't selling it to them at that point. I was just making a recommendation. They trusted me because I proved myself trustworthy. They know, I was a known quantity. Hey, that dude's going to go on way too long about the technology, but he listened to what we need in the car, and he makes sure that's going to be in our budget. So let's listen to what he has to say. Some of them still end up getting something else, but they're like, man, we should listen to you. You were right all along. Now I'm trading it in and getting what you told me to get in the first place. I mean, Mike, you're a C-suite employee. You're publicly facing. You can't be a jerk to people. I mean, you can, but it's a really bad move, because once these cars are no longer in short supply, once you have your first major recall, people are going to come after you. They're going to say, "Hey, you remember that guy? He was a jerk." Definitely. So let's see. Holy smokes, wait till it's battery defect or recall at that price. Exactly. I paid an extra $100,000 for this Mercedes, and now it's on fire. And my insurance company is only going to give me what it's actually worth. Because they don't give you what's on the sticker. They give you what the book says. And the book doesn't take into account that people are barking the cars up. And if you have accident forgiveness and purchase whatever protection, whatever your insurance company calls it, they are basing it on, when they look at your window sticker and your paperwork, they're going to say, they're not going to count the markup. They don't care. I mean, there's a handful that will, but it's not the norm. Most of them are going to say, hey, this is what the car goes for. You bought yours in 2018, and now in 2020 you can only get it for this. Here's an extra $2,000 because the price went up. But I gotta say, the price went up and there's no cars anymore, and the dealership's charging $20,000, so here's an extra $20,000. Go get you your car. Nah. Not the first bad time estimate. Let me close this thing because it's hard to read. First bad time estimate or tough automation problem. See Mythical Man Month. At least Elon is almost there on this ground-shattering, word-changing feature. I agree, and he hasn't stuck to it. It happened at the end of 2016 or 2017, like I said it would. He's not trying to gaslight us. He's like, hey man, I screwed up. Let's keep going. And what I mean, he can't, he can't read a clock or know what part of the day, hour of the day belongs to. He says, it's happening on Friday, and it really happens at 3 a.m. on Saturday. No, that's Saturday, Bo. Let's say Saturday morning, early, not Friday night. or Friday's sleep-wake cycle. Okay, I get that, but that's not Friday by any means. And if it's at midnight on Saturday morning, that's in California time. That's still Saturday morning, Bo. But he's only off by a couple hours. I'll give him that. He before somebody who woke up on Friday in California goes to sleep on Saturday. Yeah, there we got it. But, he's optimistic, and those are his timelines that we see that he's giving the engineers. Hey, you need to have this done by Saturday, and then it comes out on Tuesday because they missed it. That's not that far off. It's a hard problem to solve. All right, so let's see. Did I hurt any more of these? Yes. So I wasn't done with that guy. I just had to close it so I could read the message. So, Mike, comparing a $50,000 involuntary charge by your dealership versus a $10,000 option to add FSD to your car is quite different, brah. I agree, and I heard it. I agree because one is an optional feature that's going to come to your car at a later date. You know it's not done yet. It's coming later. Blah 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 blah. The other is, hey, we're holding your reservation hostage. We know you've been waiting in line. You were number 100 in your town to order this car, and we're going to tell Ford you don't want it, which means that if you do want it, we already know you're not coming back here. But if you want to go to the next town over to pick it up, or the one on the other side of town to pick it up, you're going to get the back of the line again now and pay today's prices because now you're not getting it till the next model year. Scumbag.
That's bad.
Scumbags. Yeah. I don't agree with this guy. He's saying, I'm outside the USA and ordered FSD long code. Yes, Tesla is slow on it, but the fact that he doesn't have it yet is, since he's in Europe, it's actually his local laws that are stopping him from getting. They've actually reduced it. Where he says they useless semi-broken EAP. That is because the European Union said that the car can only turn the wheel so much. That's why your autopilot got worse, even though you're still on autopilot. It got worse. That's not a Tesla problem, and Tesla is fighting to get it back because they know they sold you FSD, and if the car can't turn around a corner, then they had to give you your money back. So they don't want it to fail either. That's, like you said, $10,000. But 4 years ago it was not $10,000. So 4 years ago he would have paid $7 and change, $8 and change. So get that part right as well if you're going to be on a soapbox. This person said you got what you paid for. He's right to be disappointed, but he's not right to blame Tesla for it. And again, 4 years ago you didn't give him $10,000 because it wasn't $10,000 4 years ago. It's promised with caveats. Yep, you knew it wasn't finished and it was planned for. Oh, crap! It wasn't planned for the future. You filed again, and you didn't pay $10,000. I knew he didn't pay $10,000. This guy said it too. The problem is he can't. Ford is dead. They can pull this back, but it's a hard road to hoe because they don't control these dealers. They're independent dealers. They've only got so many strings they can pull. They can pull the brand from some of these places, but even that is hard to do. They entrenched themselves over the last 100 years when they became the middlemen. It was convenient at first. You could sell all the cars you made because somebody else is buying them. They're all 100% sales. I built 300,000 cars last quarter, and they're all sold. Yeah, because your dealerships didn't have a choice but to buy them from you. And so, yeah, they were all pre-sold. But now the shoe's on the other foot. You need stuff done, and you gave them too much leeway. That's why Scion and Saturn were set up the way they were. They were set up in their dealer agreements. They had to be single price. There was no negotiation, except on the used cars. And it is what it was. Whatever's on the sticker is what goes. And that's why people loved it. They didn't have as much room for the weasels. I mean, shoot, if you sell a car at the sticker, you make a lot of money, except for the entry level cars. So if I sold a Honda Fit or a Chevy Aveo or Chevy, what thing could become the Sonic, I didn't make a lot of money, but I made some money. If I sold a Honda Accord or Camry with options, like factory options, and didn't negotiate a discount on it, I was good. I was good for a while. I only had to do 5 of those a month. I did 15, 20 because you really want to be doing well, but
right.
There's profit in the cars at sticker. If there weren't, then the owner wouldn't want to be selling the cars. Hey, how come you didn't order but 10 of the Jeep cars last month? Oh, because nobody's buying them, and I'm losing my butt on them. So if you can't make the money at sticker, then you need to raise the sticker. And we've seen other products where people raise the sticker price, like say they couldn't make enough of this keyboard at the right price, once they sold out at the wrong price, the edition 2 or the second batch would be at the right price, because Best Buy and Target and whoever else, they wouldn't carry it because they wouldn't make any money on it.
That's a good point.
Scion in 07. Yeah. The Scion, I liked the Scion when I was at Toyota. Scion was still going on when I was there. And yeah, I believe the dealership is more deadly moat than even the supercharger moat. Absolutely. And that's the other thing we've seen with Tesla is they'll raise and lower the price. Because it's even this year, while we saw them raising prices by thousands of dollars every week, we saw in other markets where they were priced too high, either the value of the currency changed or they weren't selling enough cars or whatever the case was. We saw them do about 3 or 4 price drops this year in the middle of in other countries. They were selling everything they could build here at every price, but there were other countries where they did lower the price. So I appreciate Mike fighting for the customer, but I don't appreciate him pooping out other people's customers or ignoring the plank in his own eye. All right, so we talked about talking about this guy who tried to use FSD beta in the snow. Oh, there's an edit there. There was an edit there when I looked at it the first time. Absolutely horrific FSD beta experience in the snow. I read through what he wrote, and he's not entirely wrong, but the lens he writes it through and all the extra adjectives were not necessary. It wasn't absolutely horrific. It was, less than stellar, user be warned, that sort of thing. But we already know not to use FSD in inclement weather. We see how it freaks out in just a light rain. It's like, no, I don't want to do it. No. So when you add a friction modifier in the form of snow and ice, and then you add a visibility modifier in the form of, driving snow or the fact that the lanes are covered in this white stuff, the car is not advertised to do this. I understand going out and trying it out and testing it, because I would probably do the same. And I'm glad to see they had safety first. They only did it when there were no other cars around. And they made sure that they weren't wearing the sport tires that came on their Model 3 Performance. They changed them to the all seasons. All seasons are not snow tires, but they're not the same as summer tires. Summer tires, especially the ones that come on Teslas, are only good to about 40 or 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So down. So because they're summer tires. And so let's see, edit. I know it's unlikely to behave well in the snow. I assumed it would either one, not let me activate it all. See, this is my problem with trying to drive the car in the rain. It can do certain situations, and it refuses to because the wipers are going too fast. Because somebody had a mishap, rather than controlling the car. You're the driver. And why would it detect snow on the ground? It might detect slippage, because even my Model S AP1 car would if it hydroplaned at all, it would turn off autopilot. It's like, nope, your turn. It hydroplaned on me twice. That was 2 things. One, I was going too fast, and 2, I probably should not have had it on autopilot in the first place. And it said, yeah, no, I'm out. 2, not behave well in case I could adequately set a baseline for future updates. So how's that a complaint? Yeah, this is what you and I would both do. See how it does and see if it gets any better. I'm going to do it. 3, pleasantly surprised me. Really? I would not have guessed he was pleasantly surprised on the first reading of this. Because he says, holy cow, it was bad. I won't use it in the snow again until there are more updates, and probably not even then. So that's from the original before he did the edit. So pleasantly surprised me was not what I would expect from this writing. So he says it's bad at stop signs. It slides through them past the stop, and that's a failure of the fact that when it is dry, FSD will late brake. It'll stop at the last possible moment. With the new update with 10.8, it'll try and regen down there, and it'll try to minimize braking. but then once it's not stopping as fast as it expects to stop, it's going to use the friction brakes as much as possible to get down there. And so that makes sense. And it slides through the stop sign by a couple feet. Driving in a straight line, he didn't like that because he couldn't see the lane lines. Okay, you see how it does on a road with no lane lines when it's dry. If it's in a residential street, it rides down the middle of the street. If it's in a construction zone, it makes up its own path. So to expect it not to do some form of that in the snow is a little optimistic. Let's call it that.
Man, some of that is common sense. I mean, but
Yeah. He's mad that the car didn't pick a safer lane when presented with options. So you've got one lane that's paved and one lane that's covered in snow or has tracks. It won't ride in the tracks, and it won't pick. It'll pick to get out of the lane that's open because it knows it can drive in the snow, but it doesn't know it can't do it well. Just like I said, mine was behaving like a kid that was looking only one way. So you're in control. If you see it's doing this, you need to turn it off and just take manual control. And cruise control, remember, autopilot is part cruise control. Cruise control in the snow is a very bad idea. Not being able to see over distances. There was a point where an ambulance was coming towards us behind with its lights on, opened up the camera view, and there's no way the rear view camera could see it. Well, see, don't forget, in this case, that the car doesn't actually use the rear view camera for that much. That's the human camera. And you already know this, if you've driven the car in the rain, that rear view camera becomes next to useless the minute you have any sort of, like somebody comes behind you and sprays you, or this is a very aerodynamic car like the Prius, where, it's any water that hits your back window well, any water coming to your car usually doesn't even land in the back window. And so that vacuum situation ends up, the car sucks up all the water and road dust, and that rear view camera comes pretty bad. So what the car uses most of the time is it uses the two repeater cameras. It looks straight back, and then it knows how big it is. It knows how wide it is, so it can just cut out anything that happens behind it. So the only problem you have is when something is directly behind you, like when you're reversing or whatever. But even then, there's overlap in all the cameras. So just because the rear view human-friendly camera is covered doesn't mean the car can't see behind it. And the car already doesn't respond to ambulances, and so, again, that was on you, Bo. The car does respond at night to emergency responding lights. So sometimes tow trucks, definitely police lights, and fire trucks and ambulances. If it's coming up on them, it will slow down the speed significantly. So if I'm doing 50 or 60, it'll cut it down to 45 until I pass the emergency responders. So I get to the point now where I see flashing lights, and I know that, as we spoke with James Law, slow down and move over. People won't let me move over, and they definitely won't let me move over doing 45. So I just turn on the flashers, and so the people behind me, if they hit me in front of a cop, that's on them. And because they should have been slowing down when they saw the cop car anyway. So I turn on the flashers, and then I turn them off after I see that the people aren't going to ram me through. And then after we pass, the car picks back up speed just fine. But it doesn't move over for somebody who's responding directly behind it. Because one, if it's a cop, it needs to pull over off the road. It doesn't pull over off the road. Two, if it's an ambulance, it needs to kind of make way. So that is not a feature that they've advertised yet. I have seen where mine will give room, but it's not making way. It's just, it sees that there's a truck trying to get in the way, so it moves over a little bit. My favorite is pedestrians. It'll give them pedestrians and bicyclists too. It'll cross over the double yellow line on a 2-lane road if there's no oncoming traffic to give them extra room. I had a cyclist 2 days ago that was riding directly down the middle of the road, as is his right as a road user. He can use the middle of the road. So the car just sat there, slowly followed him up because it needed a turn coming up, and there was a solid median, and it knew not to pass the guy in the space that he had. So on the bright side, this excursion reminded me of how fantastic the Model 3 handles in the snow when I was driving. And I hope Elon is right that Level 4 is just a year away based on interventions per mile. But I can't help but be incredibly doubtful of that, especially with this trip out in the snow. That's a weird conclusion because they haven't even rated it for rain yet. Why would they be any sort of concentration on snow? Just saying. So does that make sense to get FSD in places like Minnesota? Yes. Eventually we'll be able to handle those, but they don't even advertise parking lots yet. So I think it's just a matter of managing expectations. So if he went into it like he said in his edit, like, hey, I wanted to see how it does for later, and stopped with the fluffy language, like, it was horrific, it was terrible, blah, 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 it was holy cow, it was bad, then it would be more factual. But it was a little too fluffy. This person says, I live in Canada and autopilot here would never work. Roads are so bad, the entire road is snow and ice. Never is a very strong word. We didn't think that FSD would ever come in the way it has, even before Tesla was out. So we could go down the thread, but you'll need your fireproof undergarments. So then we've got a article from a local news place in San Francisco that says, watch, Tesla crashes into barrier at National Naval Medical Center. One, it's not a watch as, because all they're doing is flying the helicopter around after it happened. So what I'd hope to do is just have the static picture that showed up on my phone. So if you pause it, it shows you new stuff. So basically, they just show the car, they just have a helicopter flying around, the car went around a barrier. So what happens at these secure facilities, there's a guy with a gun, guy or gal with a gun, you stop and you present yourself. You say, hey, I'm who I am. You show them your credentials, and they let you through or not. This family had a sick child, and they thought they would just go through. You know who also just goes through at full speed? Terrorists. You know what you do to terrorists? You put up the barrier and you shoot at them. So they put up the barrier, and then the Tesla ran into the barrier, and it stopped. These barriers are built for trucks. So a car is no problem for it. And later on in the article, they explain that the child did make it to the hospital. And then, but see, now instead of just one person needing to go to the hospital, now you need everybody in the car to go to the hospital. And they're like, this person actually worked at the facility, so they knew the procedure, they knew that the gates were there. Did they think that it wasn't going to happen? Maybe they were new, but I mean, after you get through basic training, you would know that everybody's got their training, everybody's got their instructions. If you say, oh, beep, beep, sick kid, gotta go, everybody could do that, including terrorists. So I'd imagine they're pretty shook up. Yeah, no, really? They hit a solid barrier at speed. Yeah, they're shook up. And because he's a minor, they couldn't disclose the boy's medical situation, but said the child received treatment at the hospital. And military authorities are investigating the incident. Yeah, this guy's going to get court-martialed, maybe demerit or whatever, but hopefully they show some leniency because he wasn't thinking straight because his kid was sick. That's all I can think of. But, So, yeah, so these cars are heavy, but they're not heavier than trucks, so don't think you can go through barriers, guys. That's all I have to say with that. Right, exactly. Never crash a manned Marine gate or any other MPs. They've all got training. Figmo. Next up, we've got our friends at CarWow back doing their thing, drag racing Teslas against stuff. And they usually do a very, very fair job of it. They remember to turn on track mode. They remember to turn on all the stuff. So I appreciate when they do it. So the Tesla Life found this, and they were over at Drive Tesla Canada. So let's copy the link and go there. And Drive Tesla Canada did a good summary. The Tesla loses all these races because it's less powerful. The i4 with the beaver teeth is just a more powerful vehicle. It's got more torque, more horsepower. It makes sense. Those are the numbers. And so they said the second race was close. Tesla led off the line, but BMW won in the end. The BMW is 11.9, but the Model 3 is a 12-second car. So at that point, unless the driver of the beaver teeth is bad, then it's going to win every time. Like if they're both good at reaction time, good at knowing their car, the advantage goes to the BMW. This is the electric one, I hope, right? Yeah, the i4 is electric. Wyatt has those
i4 M50, and next to me is a Tesla Model 3 Performance, and we're going to have a drag race.
I like that. I like that that wing on the Tesla. But what I don't understand is, in addition to the beaver, okay, so they have the wing and the nose kit, so that might have something to do with it too, because they've changed the aerodynamics of the car. In addition to the beaver teeth, it's got the fake exhaust. So I want to go to the part where they rev the cars and see if
rear spoiler and some
if they have a gas one.
Spats.
I don't think
all of
do.
which I'm sure will create drag and make it slower.
Slower,
it does
see?
look meaner than normal. Now that car's been worked on by AMT high-end. It doesn't that car. I'm going to do one car, an old V12. Have a listen.
Okay, so it's electric.
If you're after a new car, you're probably going to have to change out of your old car, and you can do everything at CarWow.
Yeah, CarWow is good
look at
in
this.
Europe.
This is set up for the auto. Similar thing again. That Tesla takes off quicker, doesn't it? But
what I'm looking for here is the braking test, because that would be where I think that the Tesla might stand a chance, because it might be lighter.
No.
There we go. Called it.
No, they're not better. Tesla won that. It's lighter, isn't it? I had full regen on and everything like that to help me out, but I guess that's the effect of almost 400 extra kilos.
Okay, so that's the same thing we see against Tesla versus everybody else when the Tesla is just tearing them up on the track. The Tesla is heavier, so it brakes worse, and it's more powerful, so it chews them up on the race. Use the same formula on the electric versus electric. The Tesla was lighter in this case, and it was less powerful, so it lost every race and won the braking test. Yeah, so I thought that was fun, and if you want to watch the whole thing, here you go. Boop-a-da-boop. I hit enter. Come on, car. Computer. I'm so used to arguing with the car. I'm arguing with the computer. See, my car is sassy. It'll talk back, and not in English. It's got an attitude. It knows what it wants to do, and if I don't do what it wants to do, it's going to do it anyway. In fact, in these latest versions, 10.6 and 10.8, it'll countermand my signaling. If I have the left signal on and it wants to go right, it will turn on the right signal, and then it will start to make its moves to go right. So at that point, my only controls to the car are the wheel and the brake, but they override anyway, so I'm not feeling out of control. I'm just feeling a little annoyed that I've clicked the left turn signal down. I've got a manual turn signal with the spring loaded. When the wheel turns enough, it spring loads and undoes itself. And it's like, oh, no, we're not turning left, though. We're turning right. Turns off my blinker, turns on its own blinker. Like a teenager. It's got an attitude. So the next thing we've got is SpaceX. They close out 2021 with a $1.85 billion in new funding. SpaceX is so freaking cool, great news. So I didn't save that comment, but let's go into the article. Basically, they're saying, hey, who are the new investors? Congrats to them, because SpaceX is privately held. So let's see. So using SEC filings, they've secured another $337 million, bringing the total this year to $1.85 billion. Then we see a stack of Starlinks into a Falcon 9 nose, and what we're looking forward to is a stack of Starlinks into a Starship nose. That'll be a full load. There we go. Then we see Ava Fox is also reporting that Tesla Gigatex is likely to begin next week. And she writes that at Tasmanian. And then a bunch of people are finally starting to see the Rivian van in the wild with Amazon. In fact, I saw advertisements for it, but I haven't actually seen it in person yet. But Amazon said, look out for it. It's coming in your neighborhood. Eventually. People are starting to realize it's big. It's not the biggest because right now they're only selling the medium-sized model, but a lot of folks don't necessarily get up and close and personal with delivery vans to realize how huge they are. They're trucks, even though they're on a van platform. They're large. Look what I just spotted. Rivian van charging at a rather rusty EVgo network station.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Look what we just spotted.
It's a Rivian van getting a charge here at an EVgo station. Look at that EVgo station. Sad state of affairs.
It is rusty. Look at the back of that thing.
Wow.
Now turn left onto West Road.
Yeah. Well, this is exciting. And this is what it looks like when it's non-camouflage. Yeah? Was that Marcus?
I said it's pretty dope.
It is. I agree.
Want to see that. I need to see more of this out here on the world.
So we're waiting on two things with this. One, for them to either be able to sell them without Amazon, or two, for Amazon to liquidate them, like after they've reached the end of their life and you want to fix them up. Because I can imagine a lot of projects to do with a van like this. So then we have the Tesla USB, then we had Tesla recalls, we had Lex Friedman. So there we go. Happy New Year to everybody, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks again to Zach and everybody for helping out over this past year. It really comes in handy, and I appreciate it. Catch you soon. There we go. I didn't even mention my new video. Hopefully they see it. But